Welcome, everybody, to the One Up Yours podcast for Friday, April 18th. I'm Garnet Lee. Great to have you with us. And along with Shane Bettenhausen and Sean Elliott, the regular members, and Andrew, of course, working on the MacBook doing the recording, we're joined today by Mr. Jeff Green.
Hi. How are you?
We're happy to have you back, Dad.
Thanks for having me, son.
Why you got to do him like that?
I'm proud.
It's not.
No, we've acknowledged our
Well, so you don't have my hang up, like, so you don't mind being called Dad.
No, he means literally.
Literally. Oh. I have sired Shane Bettenhausen.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, on today's show, we're going to do a normal thing. We have what you've been playing in the first segment. In the second segment, I've got some community stuff, and we're also going to talk building off of a thread on the board and a message that was sent to me by one up user about how it's like, I think it's kind of like a word question, but it's an interesting thought, like how you've changed about the way you play games as you've gotten older. So that's what we're going to talk about there. And then in the third part, we got news, we got NPDs, we got a whole bunch of DLC news, we got Kojima dissing on the PS3 and Metal Gear Solid.
Do we get to figure out like who would win, Johnny Cage or Superman? Who's stronger?
And we can do that too.
I'll let you know. It's Sector.
Sector.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go.
I hit him with a punching bag, with a boxing glove arrow. That would be it, man.
All right. Let's get it rolling. Who wants to kick off? Like what you've been playing? What do you think?
Well, am I the only person? You have someone else has Team Fortress stuff, but I have new games that aren't even out yet. As opposed to the greatest hits of 1975 that Jeff Green is going to roll out.
I got shit that's out, but that no one's played.
Oh, that's good. Let's go with Sean.
We can hit your. I'm just saying.
Like, no, you first.
Don't just say it's a bunch of old.
All right, ladies.
You first.
I'm going to say Sean.
So, I've been playing San Andreas multiplayer mod. It's basically a mod that lets you play on the PC. San Andreas Vice City has one as well, and so it's GTA 3 with like 125 to 150 people.
Wow.
So it's like a whole living city.
It pretty much is, yeah. And there's like the interesting thing is like how many permutations of play and server types there are. So when you first go in, this is going to be a clusterfuck. And if you just hop into like a random deathmatch server or screw around server, it is. It would be like if, all of you go someplace and everyone's doing stunts. There's just planes crashing out of the sky randomly on
Is
people.
Everyone just CJ? Like, there is no multiplayer mode.
No, every character model in the game is accessible for you to choose as. And so that was actually fun. When we first hopped in, we just went into servers like that. It's like, hey, let's just spawn up on Mount Chiliad, jump a bike off the top of it and see what happens, go to different race courses and stuff that people made. But then the real fun is when you go to role-playing servers. And people are very serious about the role-playing servers.
Like in character all the time?
Dude, yes. Anthony was telling me about this. It was crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like these people, part of it is, it makes sense when you look at the response. Everyone goes, dicks around in a regular server and gets sick of it, and then they say, we need to do something to this. We need to apply some structure and make like a goal-oriented or some kind of game mode. So they get in and someone decides, I'm going to be a cab driver. And when you get in a role-playing server, they vary. Some of them will actually have you read a tutorial, and they'll just, it assumes you're the slowest, most illiterate person in the world, and by the time it's done, then you have to take a quiz based on whatever
there's a server quiz to get into the game?
To get in, yeah. So it would be like, can you under what conditions is it possible to do a drive-by? And it might be only as a passenger in a recognized ghetto or something.
Well, it's to keep people from griefing,
It is.
Right.
And so you do it. And I failed the quiz at the first time because I was like, I'm not going to read this shit. And it was like, sorry, try again next time. And it ejects you from the server.
Wow.
So you have to come back in and do that all over again. So then it's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen when you get into this game. And it's all real people. And it's the world of San Andreas. And you see cars stopping at lights, staying in their lanes, like using
what the hell?
Very carefully, a street sweeper. There's some fucker who is a street sweeper, and he drives the street sweeper model like right up against the curb and is like very carefully going throughout the world. So I look at this.
Screw Torin druids, man. I want to be a fucking street sweeper.
Yeah. And you'll charge money. Like if you're a cab driver, you put in a call. Everyone's got cell phones. Just like call for a taxi and you wait. He'll come pick you up and charge you. You can't drive unless you get a license. Like you can't just go up into any random car. You can, however, jack them from people. And then, so as soon as we looked at this, we were in there for 5 minutes. And I say we, it was just my usual like gang of idiots that we play online games together. And we're like,
and you started griefing.
It was like we had arrived in the promised land.
Oh
An untouched virgin universe.
I have this image. Here's this role-playing game dude, like in San Andreas. He's all like, "Yeah, I'm just waiting on this, just standing at the corner. I'm just waiting on the cab I called a little while ago." And up rolls Sean and crew.
Wait, so are people playing hookers too? Like,
there are prostitutes in the game.
Awesome.
It'll even say like, you've contracted chlamydia or gonorrhea, and it'll take hit points from you.
Nice.
But you got to
Can we still sleep with them and kill them like the old game?
In a separate type of role-playing server called Cops and Robbers, in one of the classes, and this is pretty fucking revolting, one of the classes is rapist.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, that's
and they, like, I was just walking, I was one of the burger chicks. It's a character model. She's got like a burger hat on. She's from the burger restaurant. I was just trying to cruise around, mind my own business, and someone just pulls up in the car, jumps out, and then like next thing I know on the screen, it's like, you've been raped. You have syphilis. You have gonorrhea.
Oh, that's
and then another time, so the first time I was a sucker.
I'm not laughing at that.
When I went into a role-playing.
It's obscene. It's so. I'm laughing because it's so obscenely bad.
I went into a role-playing server, and like I got to follow up though on like how we actually fucked this game up. But like when we first went in, I was the butt of the joke. Like I was sitting there, and this car pulls up and starts honking, and it was this shitty car, and I was like, "Let's get in, dude. They want us to get in." And we get in, and then it's like doors are locked, and we're like, "What the hell is this?" And they took us out to the ghetto and then killed us, and that made no sense. But so after we got our bearings, we knew. We had to be very careful because the admins play the role of the cops, and I'm also convinced that this is a perfect, like this whole mod and the whole role-playing thing is set up for power tripping freaks who want to play admin, want to play cop in this game. And there's a reason for it too, in that like if it's really carefully administrated, they have all these rival servers, and there might be like 10 people in each, but you want the one that's got 125 people in it. So you have to guarantee that you're creating this like good civil society and a utopia, and it's like a competition among alternate models of like urban planning in each server. And so the ones with like the really hard-ass cops, like from Rambo First Blood 1 or something, are the ones that people like. So we knew we couldn't just go in and just start beating the shit out of people, and that would be the end of it. But we did. We all picked the clown model. It's like this fat, stupid clown, and we went and picked up these giant double dildos they're an actual weapon in the game. In San Andreas, we hide those. We don't equip those because that's bad. Just walking around with those things.
No one wants to walk around with a double dildo.
We started off dildo squad giving beatdowns. Is that what you went around doing? Or?
Just going around, but kind of like you wait and you tell someone, "Hey, go hail the cab," and then we'll yank the cab driver out and beat the shit out of him and jump on the hood of his car and stomp on it until it's like burning, and then or take his cab and run over him. And you could park. The most frowned upon activity in this game is like when you park on someone because they can't get up, and it's just you just park your car and chill on them. And we do that, but then the cops did start chasing us, but they weren't ready for a bunch of us. So we were like, "All right, pull over, dude, just pull over." And then the cop's gonna get out of his car, and we're gonna be falling behind him like normal traffic, and then we'll smash him against his car full speed when he comes. And eventually what happens is you get the whole group of admins chasing you. But imagine, when you first got GTA 3, and you're like, dude, this is a game where I can pull a cabbie out and stomp him, and it was fun. It's nothing like when you know that cabbie is played by a human being who thinks that it's a fucking good idea to be a cab driver in a video game. Dude, like, it does not compare.
And you know what's scary is you so won Anthony over because he told me the same thing day before yesterday. He's like, "Oh, dude, you wouldn't believe it's so cool. You like rip the cabbie out of there and you like smack the shit up. And you're like, that's a real dude. Fuck you."
And yeah, when they chase you, like when the cops chase you, you can't get caught because they're going to put you in a prison in the game, and you could be there with your account stuck so that you're in that prison for weeks,
Oh,
or they'll try to like charge you. So when you're having a chase and you're running from these guys, it's just like when you go over to like Old Man Murphy's next door and hit his dog with the water balloon and then go hauling ass. And then eventually,
what kind of childhood do you have?
Eventually, you want him to chase you, and then when he gives up the chase, you're like, "What am I going to do now? Am I just going to be good? No, I'm going to go back and get another water balloon and start all over again." So you just keep doing that with the cops, and it's like the stakes are really high. And it's got to be frustrating for Rockstar because it's like this mode. It's like the biggest gaming high you can get, but they can't expect anyone to do it because who in their right mind is going to want to play these roles, play seriously, and stop at red lights in their game? But there's people somehow that have just decided that they want to do it, and now when you go in there, it's fucking rad.
So how do you get out of jail if you're in jail?
You wait. You can call a lawyer, and this is what's dirty as hell.
Lawyer?
I get in jail, and I told the guy, I was like, "Come on, don't arrest me. I'll let you toss my salad if you don't put me in jail." And he still put me in jail. So when I was in there, it's like this prompt came up. It's like, do you want a lawyer? And I was like, yeah, I want a lawyer. And then the cop, and then I get a message, and I'm like, dude, that's the cop's name. That's the same. The lawyer's the cop who put me in jail. And he comes
small
up,
town America,
and we're like, yeah, and Rory, and it worked. We started role playing. We're like, fuck you, pig. I want a lawyer who's not a pig. And then, so I got out for good behavior. I'm like, come on, guys, we messed up. Just tell this guy we'll never do it again. And then they let me out of the cell, and the rest of them were in there still talking shit. And then when the guy came up, they said they wanted a lawyer, and so he came up to the bars, and they punched him through the bars. And then all the cops ran up, and they got pepper spray, and they started spraying him through the bars, and then like let one of them out. We're beating him with their sticks, and it was funny. We were all screaming about
craziest story.
We were all screaming about like fucking the injustice of it all and shit. And then as they were trying to have their debate, I would run around the corner, fly up, punch the cop in the head, and run back around the corner to try to see if they'd chase me, because I knew I could get outside and get in the car. I did like 20 times, and he'd be like, "Get out of here! We're done with you." And then I'd be like, "What's up, dude?"
See, I have to wonder if Rockstar's watching this, because the GTA 4 multiplayer is nothing like this. It's more specific modes, and and we hear rumors that they want to do an MMO, and how would they do that? And
yeah,
I think this is like a small template for that, but it is a little extreme.
They have to watch it. I mean, like especially the cops and robbers mode, at least where you have like two sides.
Right.
Then that way everyone's because it's fun to be a cop and it's fun to be a robber. Then they could pull that off, And I think that would work, because it's so fun when you're doing a chase, and like say if we have just one car chasing us and we have 4 cars, we could totally like box him in and actually rip him out of his car and park on him. And we were able to, and then you pick on people, because when you're killed in the game, you have to go to the hospital and you have to pay a fee for your medical bills and money. They're all like about money. It's very much like Second Life, like that, where people are trying to do all this shit to get money off you, so they don't want to lose it. So we get this guy Jamal Anderson, and we like parked on him, and then we went over to the hospital, and we had some of us waiting at the hospital, and when he got out, we just did it again, and we just kept putting him back in the hospital, and he'd scream, "Leave me alone!" And they're like running down the street, and like they'll get out of the cars and jump across the buildings and scream to leave him alone. To take it back if you steal, like we stole this one guy's golf cart and ran him over with that, and he was all bummed out because he spent a bunch of money to get a golf cart. He didn't have a real driver's license. He could just go around a golf cart through fucking
and the thing is gone forever.
God, this is so bizarre.
It's gone forever, the golf cart?
I have no idea how specifics were. But it's fun, I think.
This might be the greatest game ever.
I know. It's just completely
no
overwhelming.
reason to go on with this podcast.
We might just go play it. Go upstairs and play, yeah. All right, well, that's that. We'll have to shut it down now. Come back next week.
Amazing.
Wow.
So see, old games can be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else can live up to that now. That was pretty awesome.
What about the Team Fortress stuff?
If you want to hit up that, like, go ahead. Garnet and I both went to Valve had a press event this week. It was this Tuesday to show off the new a new map called Gold Rush and some of the new weapons for the medic.
So you play a lot more Team Fortress than I do, and I have to say I was happy about the event, because evidently a lot of other people that report on games don't play Team Fortress any more than I do, because I was actually able to play pretty decent.
Yeah, there were only a few people that were pretty good there. I didn't get to play much. Like the power went out.
Yeah, that was
really.
Yeah, the place wasn't set up to handle all those PCs.
They had a huge number of PCs, and it was just like this bar pizzeria that wasn't really set up to be like a LAN center, and so they ended up pulling
some brownouts.
And so the bomb mode, I thought it was a blast. I mean, I don't know, I don't play enough Team Fortress 2 to be like the perfect guy to tell you about it, but from the casual perspective, I had a blast playing it. I thought it was really cool the way that the part that stood out the most to me is that because you're trying. So one team's like standing around this like old rail car that has a giant bomb on it, and as long as you have one person next to it, the rail car will move to the next objective. The more people you have next to it, the faster it moves. So the thing I liked about this is that it made it made the battlefield like actually move through the entire level, which showed off how good Valve really is at designing levels, because each part of the levels had a different sort of feel and strategy to it. Like their parts were just compressed, and like you're on this like little minecart train, and you're inside like I don't know, warehouses and buildings really close up, and that's there's one sort of combat going on there, and then you'll come around a corner, it'll be like an open part where you have to get the train car across a big exposed area, and then the combat's completely different through there.
It's difficult to make maps for Team Fortress 2 for the reason that with all 9 classes, to make a map that's going to like allow every class to be useful in a variety of situations. It's like, I know they've been working on Gold Rush since before this game launched. When I actually went to review the game and I saw on their browser list for internal things, that was one of the maps I saw, and I was like, wow, why can't we play this? So I know, I mean, that might not be exactly why this one took so long, but I know in general it does. When you look at custom user-made maps, we're just now getting some, some pretty good ones on PC, but like a lot of the early ones, they were sort of balanced after Team Fortress Classic conventions, and you could tell it would make it could mean a scout wasn't even able to use half of his potential, or maybe a pyro was no good because there were no quarters that were designed for him to do what he does best.
And everybody has their favorite character, so if you don't get to play it, it's like that suddenly that map doesn't become as much fun for you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want it, if all that's going to be useful on the map is like a medic, soldiers, and heavy weapons guys, and there's no use for a sniper, there's no use for a pyro, that's not really Team Fortress, so it's it just does take some more time.
We talked about it a little bit on the 1UP show, but it just blew me away, playing a game. Sometimes you play a game and you're in especially a shooter and you're in a level and you're you just feel that degree of polish where you're this is an amazingly well-designed level. Everything has been thought about, and that was this level is everybody has an opportunity to play in it, and it's just amazing how well they have all what you're talking about, all the sight lines managed to where there's not places that are perfect sniping spots, but they're places that are good enough that you're still going to go and use them. They're not places that are perfect ambush spots, but they're places you still know you're going to go and use them, but there's still a way for people to get out of them. It's just, it was really, really well balanced.
It was really cool. The thing about this mode, the mode's called Payload, the map's Gold Rush, is that it's a combination of the way that Dust Bowl works, just the attack and defend, where you have a team that's dedicated offense and dedicated defense, but more interestingly on the Team Fortress Classic mode called Hunted. And that consisted of a team of snipers and then a team that was basically soldiers, and I think it was just soldiers, medics, and a president or a VIP. And that was just a player-controlled dude with an umbrella, and you had to escort him across the map in the same way. But the problem was...
Could he hit people with his umbrella?
He could hit people with his umbrella, but that was
so
the
weak,
thing.
though.
He was just there, and you would get people that because it's basically the first person who selects that class is going to be that person. Mm-hmm. But the whole game mode was based on the quality of that person's play, or his or her willingness to even play by the rules. So if that guy was just going to run out and say, shoot me, guys,
I'm an idiot,
then you were just absolutely screwed outside of a clan server or something. So that's why they turned the VIP into a payload that's moving on a rail through the level.
That makes perfect sense.
And just to counter just whatever, it's basically counting on people to play according to the rules in ways that you can't guarantee. It made sense when you're making a mod and there's a lot of the people that are playing it are early adopters and they're interested in giving feedback, maybe joining the team and different things like that. So I think that mode's cool. What was interesting about this whole event though is that we've known from the beginning that Valve has just a whole nother approach to how they release and iterate on their multiplayer games. And so when people are crying that there are too few maps in this game and all this stuff, it's you just got to wait and see, because it's going to evolve, and perhaps in ways that no one's anticipating. And the introduction of this whole new set of achievements and then the medic weapons that they unlock shows signs that this is not going to be the same game at all in 6 months. And that is the time frame that Robin Walker, co-creator of the series, gave me, is that now that we have all this back-end stuff where we can store your achievements and your weapons, so we know who's unlocked what, we're going to be able to roll the rest out really quickly. So every class is going to get an additional set of weapons and stuff and achievements. They also said that they want to make it so that there's ways to get these things that aren't tied into the achievements. The first thing that could come to mind for me is what, you just buy them? But I don't understand. That's very un-Valve-like, so I don't think that it's going to be that.
Maybe it'll be playtime or something else based. I don't know.
There's some other way to just do it.
You talk about Robin, though, dude, I got to tell you what, the last game we were playing, I was the guy on my team who probably had the best grasp of how to play, and Robin was on the other time, and the dude was just deviling me.
He's good.
Dude, he was deviling me. It was to the point where I was literally playing to hope to get to hear that little fanfare when you get revenge. It's oh shit, yeah, I got a revenge.
The Nemesis thing.
Yeah, it would be die, 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 ba-bing, oh, hot damn, I killed him once. Die, 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 ba-bing, hot damn.
Good luck with that.
I was no, I actually got him a couple times, but it was the ratio was bad.
So is all the new stuff just for PC now, or they announced console? Or
they did not announce.
I'm waiting for a response back on that about the console stuff.
You think they might wait till there's more, because usually console add-ons are a little bigger, more substantive than this? Or
They'll come. I don't know. I mean, they could just daily updates or something. I don't know how they'll do it.
They'll get caught in that same fight with Microsoft about we don't charge for this stuff. Valve doesn't charge for this stuff, and then Microsoft's going to be, but you can't release that much content on live without charging for it.
And soon they'll have enough. Like when you look at this in its entirety, the additions over the forthcoming 6 months, it's basically turning the game, giving the game all the aspects that COD4 has and that have helped make it so popular.
True.
I mean, that's not the only reason why that game's popular, but it's a huge part of it, and they're going to be throwing that in. He was mentioning to me that yes, we still want to work on new classes, and of course we want to do additional maps and stuff that are like vastly different than a lot of the maps that have been coming out, like Badlands and now Gold Rush. They still use the same asset pack for the most part.
Sure.
There's some new stuff, but they look like they're in the same world, like getting really different now. And so it sounds like there's big things lined up. Immediate future, though, what's going to happen? They wanted to incentivize people playing medics. Now everyone is going to be playing medic for a while, but they're going to be playing in a really unnatural way, I fear, because they're basically just going to be trying for these achievements to get the unlocks.
Right.
And so if they know an achievement is, Uber a guy 5 times in a row, they're just going to be so focused on that's the game for them now, is to Uber this guy 5 times in a row and not to play to win this round. So it's probably going to be a little hectic for public server play for the next month after they launch that.
That's classic MMO behavior, though, too. In WoW, I mean, the achievement thing is different, but the fact of one class getting nerfed and then all of a sudden everybody jumps on that class, and everybody who plays every other class is bitching about how now these guys have the advantage. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sure they'll go around with the other classes now in TF2, right?
Yeah, they'll just keep coming to them. I'm not even sure about it being not even having the advantage, but just because it's something there, there's new incentive to do it. Because it has the achievements and it's got the new weapons that everyone.
So you think people just be focused on whatever their selfish goal is rather than helping the team?
Yeah, and that's a given anyway for public server play, is that you can only, and that's why that's why the medic is the way he is, and all these things that they've done in this game is that you can only count on someone. You can't say your incentive for playing as a team is that your team's going to win. You have to say trick people into acting as a team by giving them individual points for doing things that help the team. Mm-hmm. One question I do want to answer for people is that there's this new the Uber saw, and people are like, well, if this thing gives you Uber every time you hit someone, why would you ever want to use the old saw? And this is the case, that this is the one weapon where it is true that once you have it, there will no longer be any reason to use the regular one. But the justification and the thinking behind that is that the thing, you have to get all achievements. It's 100% of the medic achievements to get this thing, and that when you do get it, they're like, I mean, that's a big thing, and we want to make sure that
if we reward.
The ultimate badass reward. We want to make sure that people are going to be like, hey, that thing is not useful, or it's not as good as the regular bone saw or something. So they felt confident in saying, hey, yeah, this is just flat out better.
Good on them for doing that. I mean, if you get all that, dude, you are a badass. You're committed to playing the medic. You should get a reward.
Or you're Ryan Scott, because he, how he has this thing where he tells people to go into the server with him and let him shoot him in the head so he can get achievements. And
sad.
He likes doing that, so he might get that before anyone else. I want to know though, because there's the crit, the new medic gun.
Yeah.
Gives you when it's uber charged, it allows you to fire 100% crits. Can you have 2 medics double up on you? This is where my Banana Riders come into play. I want someone giving me 100% crits, and I want someone giving me invulnerability.
Oh God!
So if I have both of those streams, hit me
double Uber, double Uber. Jeff, what have you been catching up on while you've been playing?
Well, I'm glad that Sean's been playing on the PC, because I haven't been. And
it's all right.
I was trying to think why before we came down here to record, and I think I actually was
too expensive to upgrade or something like that, right?
Yeah. I don't want to spend $7,000.
$7,000.
Yeah. John Davison was going to build my PC for me. And Mark cost me $7,000.
And then Mark McDonald was going to put the video card in for you.
Yeah. Over a week, Mark was going to put the card in. With the schematic diagram.
Work by the hour.
Yeah. Let's see. Open the case. Anyway, so I think I needed a break from the PC. I think a little trauma from the mag. So I just no, seriously, I think I just wanted to walk away from my PC.
The trauma being, I got a plan for my future, man. These console games.
Exactly.
Learning.
The writing's on the wall, man.
We're
So,
joking. Before we get in trouble, let's say that we're definitely joking.
We are absolutely.
So you've been
Let's ruin
playing.
our
So you've been
joke
playing
and
cell
it's
phone
we,
games.
we
then.
do have cell phone games. No, we
Yeah,
have
well, let's get ready
big
for your-
plans for GFW Online. I have to say, some good stuff we're going to roll out. So
This message has been brought to you by Jeff Green.
yes,
Captain of the SS GFW.
Yes,
So stop taking his shit off the bow.
right. sorry, sir. I'm with the program. So I hooked up my GameCube again, and my PS2's always been hooked up. But
Oh, your GameCube.
Yeah, because Ryan Scott lent me the first Metal Gear Solid for
So you're
GameCube.
playing the Twin Snakes.
Snakes.
Aha.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it's
okay,
funny when
I
you
see.
said you're playing MGS1, I was like, well,
Yeah.
why aren't you playing Twin Snakes? But some people choose not to play Twin Snakes because it is a little broken.
Twin Snakes is a
Little
little
bit,
broken.
little bit.
How
It's in a good way for
Shit.
Jeff, though.
Well, yeah, it's
Well, because it's easier.
It's considerably easier.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm already playing on easy,
Yeah.
and I'm stuck. So
Like
Well,
Jeff's going to
Scott-
complain. Revolver Austin's far too easy this time around. I
No,
prefer
actually-
the original game.
well, see, that's the thing. That's
true.
where
That's
where
true.
that's where I'm stuck.
Not for
actually.
Jeff, though. Jeff's like, this fucking guy, where's the GameFAQs URL again?
Were you at my house? That's like that's eerily realistic. Yeah. Well, Ryan did tell me that that this dude's easy to kill if I just go in the first person. Right?
That's true.
That's the broken part
That's
of it.
it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually right there. I'm at Revolver Ocelot. So, I want to say that I'm a total virgin to the series. I totally missed it in all my PC gaming time, and of course, with 4 coming up, I just wanted to see what the big
Why
deal
didn't you get
was.
Microsoft's PC version of Metal Gear Solid?
I did have it at the time.
Yeah.
We got it in at CGW, and I think I played like the VR missions actually, but
Those
I
are
never
fun-
actually
those are
played
fun, too.
the real game itself.
Well, I hope you stick with it because it's a great series.
It's actually I'm finding it to be kind of hard, really and I know, in general my reputation is I suck, but which I do, but still
Special or different, not suck.
right, I'm specially abled in gaming. And but the thing about it, as I found, because I'll be honest, I booted this thing up and the game opens with you in that first room, in that little basement area with the water, and there's just like 2 sets of lockers and 2 dudes.
Right.
And then you have to get to the elevator. And once you get up the elevator, then you kind of get a tutorial.
Right.
So it's before anything. I couldn't get out of that room. I couldn't get out of the very first room of the game on easy.
I mean, part of the problem is the controls
But-
are complicated.
And they don't explain them yet. And of course, I didn't read the manual, so I was just like, and I understood it was a stealth game, but still, I found that the reaction times, that it was so sensitive. Like as soon as you're in the cone, their cone, you're fucked.
Yeah, especially
you're fucked.
Avoid the cone
that
zone.
game is especially. You should almost just play by the radar because the vision cone is the
Yeah.
whole game. And like later
This
Metal
is what
Gears,
I've learned.
later
Yeah.
Metal Gears get away from that, but that game in particular, it's all about
Right,
the radar.
I did learn, but I had to die a number of times in that first room, but now finally, I've made it through a number of areas, and you do get into this kind of interesting gameplay rhythm with this. And I've played other stealth games on the PC, the Thief series being the primary one, and there is something very. I don't know. It just has a really neat, almost kind of like puzzle game atmosphere to it. I'm probably not saying anything you guys don't know,
Right.
But every room becomes, okay, how am I going to get the hell over there?
Especially if you realize you can play the game without killing anybody, and like that
Yeah.
gives it a fun new challenge. Especially in MGS1, you can kind of just like run past everybody, and that's like a really high level way of playing it.
Yeah.
It's like unequip all your weapons, run past everyone. Just if someone sees you, throw them because they'll knock them out.
Right.
I mean, you might actually find it easier to play that way.
Well, I have found that there's certain rooms where I have a certain strategy that I think is going to work, and it backfires because either a camera spots me or one of the dudes spots me, and then it's just a completely elegant like wah! Just running through and hoping I can outlast the evasion thing.
Go hide.
Get under
Well,
the
that's what I
house.
mean. Yeah. But it just feels wrong. Like I kind of want to start over. Like, well, okay, I got through there, but that was kind of weak.
See, this is the same problem I have with this game. That's the same reason that I will I'm the retard who started 1, started 2, started 3, and never finished any of them.
Yeah, and I do have this problem too, which I've felt in other games that have stealth, where that suspension of disbelief I can't quite get over. That where I've created all this ruckus. There's people running around with guns. People are popping out of the woodwork. But then when the evade meter goes down, they're like back to their post.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, even the
don't they
cone-
realize I'm still there?
Even their range of perception is so very Pac-Man-like, which Shane was saying. You
Right.
can
Yeah.
play it based on the radar, and then
Yeah.
it becomes
And-
like
and that's-
Pac-Man. And
Yes.
that Vulcan Raven battle is basically.
Oh yeah, and MGS2 has a lot of that too. By the time you get to 3, it has changed, and 4, that's almost completely gone. Like
Okay.
that concept of like playing it like Pac-Man is more or less gone.
And that's not bad.
It's not
I'm
bad,
just saying,
but
like, I'm just commenting.
It's very
on,
artificial. I mean, it is a huge
is-
part of MGS1's gameplay. Yeah.
Right, and I actually like that because again, it does feel kind of like puzzle gaming
Yeah.
to me. So that's
Stealth
fun.
is every game that does it runs up against that wall where it loses your ability to suspend disbelief.
Right. I mean, to
every
me it was
Crisis.
Yep.
Every game. It's so much more difficult to simulate that than it is to someone that's just going to chase you and shoot you all the time.
Yeah. It was a
Well, it
killer
still
to
has
me in Thief because in Thief you could shoot out the lights
Right.
to create more shadow or dark,
You could throw point.
and
you
the
could throw a
guards
skin
would
mag
just
down.
not do it. Say what?
You could throw a skin mag down.
Yeah. I
Oh no,
noticed
not
that.
in that
Not in that
not in that
one.
game. That's
Yeah.
2.
No, in one you can because I found a book.
There's a magazine. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a magazine or book I picked up, and then I looked at it and said it was like a girly mag.
But you can't actually zoom in on it or anything.
You can't. I tried. Yeah.
Not yet.
I was
Later-
frantically pressing the use button over and over.
Later you can.
Yeah, but then I realized that you could throw it as a distraction, right? So I've been playing that, and that's been a lot of fun. Ryan Scott tells me to pay attention to every single conversation with Mei Ling or whatever because of all these important plot points. Because he says it's like the greatest story ever, but it's a guy.
I think he just thinks
has
Mei
he
Ling-
read a book.
He just thinks
That's
Mei Ling
not
is
a
really.
game.
You know what Ryan's reading consists of,
Right.
And also movie.
The back of game and cereal boxes. Yeah.
Well, like one point, do you care about being spoiled in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Like Revolver Ocelot,
Is he my dad?
that dude's arm comes off and it gets grafted onto another character at some point, and it takes
Seriously?
over control of that character.
Sean, would you believe
Wow.
me? When,
Are
Sean,
you
arm.
spoiling it
Sean,
for all your
would I
listeners?
believe you when I say? Would you believe me when I say MGS4 explains that in a way that will like appease you?
Dude, it's stem cells, man. Not only can it rebuild a kidney, it rebuilds the specific neural structure that all thought is
'cause, like,
predicated.
that
on.
was one of the
And
things-
because thoughts are inevitable,
like-
inevitably arise from an identical neural structure. Like, dude, they just took over. It was like stem cells for that.
When
fool's
when
head.
you find out what's really going on, it's not what you think.
So wait, so does a revolver
It wasn't
Ocelot
really-
die? And then his arm
It
gets...
was the hairs.
keep
on
playing.
All right.
There's a lot of insanity yet to come.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some.
And you're playing.
So
and what else? You playing Kingdom Hearts?
I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, okay.
I played Kingdom Hearts 1 when it came out.
I never played 2.
I'm really liking
It's
it
better.
a lot.
What was bad about 1? I loved 1.
The camera, the
Oh,
up and down difficulty, the.
you're being picky. It was fun.
I actually found that game to be very hard, the first Kingdom
I think it's
Hearts.
incredibly hard.
Surprisingly
for
hard.
its audience. I think
Yes.
it's incredibly hard.
Right. I got that game for my daughter at the time. What year did that come out?
That'd be like 5 years ago.
So my kid was about 9, which
Yeah.
which was seemed about perfect, and we sat down to play it. I was like, "Here's this thing I can bond with my 9-year-old kid over this game." And in the first couple areas,
first
I'm
boss
just
battle.
like, fuck.
I died. in the first boss
Yeah.
battle.
Now, don't tell your mom I said that word. Fuck this game. So, but Kingdom Hearts 2.
Can you get me another
it's
controller?
Much, yeah. Honey, fetch me a controller. I'm finding this game a lot more just fluid all the way through.
Yeah.
The animation's beautiful, of course.
Tell your dad which spell he should use.
I mean, if you're a Disney person at all, it's like a
And I am.
giant fangasm in your face.
Yeah,
You know,
and I am. I admit
It's
it.
Hannah Montana
So-
in it.
you wish. Tron's in that one though, which
Tron
is
is in that
awesome.
one,
And the Steamboat
yeah.
Willie, you probably haven't gotten there yet.
No,
but
I'm not a
some of the
Steamboat
some of the new areas. The big problem with 2 is it recycles tons of shit from 1, which is disappointing. But like the really new stuff, like Tron and Steamboat Willie, very cool.
It's also been a long time since I've played a game with this many cutscenes that go on this long.
Stick on with Metal Gear, you'll learn.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I don't think you pick up the controller in Kingdom Hearts 2 for 15 minutes. I mean, at the very beginning.
I think the whole
but-
first hour is kind of boring, actually. But
Yeah, and then you start off doing odd jobs, which is kind of weird.
yeah, collecting dogs. You do.
I did like deliver the mail.
Yeah, the whole first hour.
Okay, so
anyway.
how good is it? Is it good enough I should like throw it on my pile of like games I really should like play?
I think
I'm
Kingdom
really
Hearts 2
enjoying
is
it.
really good.
Yeah.
It's rough around the edges in places, but if you like the first one,
I really like the first
It is
one.
better. I think it is a better game.
Wow,
Yeah.
I might have to go back and check that out.
Yeah, and in other Sony game playing, because I just wanted Shane to like me this week.
Dad, I already like you.
I've been rediscovering my PSP, and it's actually not a complete piece of shit like I thought it was, or my dedicated Luminous machine, which is what I also thought it was.
What'd you play on it?
Right now, I'm playing God of War, which I've had since it came out, and that is really good.
You'll be done with that in a couple minutes.
Yeah, well, I'm playing it on easy too, so yeah, so I'll be done
Let's
with
back
that.
it up again, man. He's told you he's stuck on the first 2 guys. in
Well,
Metal Gear,
okay.
man.
Well, I was
Well,
stuck
I-
on the first boss battle of God of War, and then I dumbed down the difficulty. So
I've been playing my DS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up that Professor Layton's Curious Village thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to tell you, I'm like totally fascinated by it. It's perfect.
Don't you have to be smart for
I had
that
it.
game?
Yeah, I had algebra
I'm
class.
not saying you're not,
I had algebra
but,
class
yeah.
a long time
Dude,
ago.
it's not all algebra
I don't
class.
want it again.
It's so the thing. It's this really weird combination of like level 5.
The developer.
Yeah, the level 5 typical graphics design that they always have.
I think the graphics are anything but typical for level 5. And I
Really?
think they're completely atypical. It's not anime at all. It's like crazy European watercolors.
But you guys are talking about the
Dude, that
graphics.
is
in fucking
absolutely
Professor
anime
Layton,
style.
dude.
I've seen anime look like
You
that.
are on crack.
Come on, man.
Well,
It's like meant to.
I was on crack right before I came in. I'll
like,
give me some more.
like maybe you've seen anime that's meant to look like Hans Christian Andersen or something, but trust me, dude, Layton is in no way traditional anime aesthetics.
It's not. It looks more Euro. It looks
Very-
more
It does
like,
look Euro.
like French dessin bandera.
Garnet's wrong. Who can imagine? But it
Okay,
is a
let's
cool
move on
style.
back to the gameplay.
Anyway, I like the way it looks. I like the coloring of it. I like the way it's drawn. I like that part's all interesting. Like the part that holds all of the logic puzzles together is actually just enough to keep you moving between the puzzles, and not so much that you get bored between going to the puzzle.
So
to
what's
puzzle.
like an example of a puzzle?
So they go all over the board. One of the puzzles I played this morning, one of them was one of those deals where it shows you 4 pictures, and one of the 4 pictures couldn't be drawn by holding the pencil down and making one continuous line, and so you have to reason out which one of them.
fuck.
Well, I mean,
which one of them is that?
It's not so much that they came up with new puzzles. It's if you found like puzzle books from 1963,
It absolutely is.
It is all
It's-
those puzzles.
It's all those
Yeah.
like
Classic.
Some of them Mensa style, and then some of
Yeah.
them more like highlights for kids.
And then there's algebra.
Do they have like?
There's a little
there
bit
really
of algebra.
There's really algebra. There's like solve for X, dude. There is.
Is there Chris Rock shit like where you go into the little diner and you got to get one rib and like a handful of some Sprite?
Yes. Yeah.
Maximize the money.
Yeah, but there is a spot where you go into the cafe and you have like a beaker filled with 8 quarts of liquid, and you have a 3-quart beaker and a 5-quart
God.
beaker, and you have
No,
to split it.
thanks.
Exactly.
Dude, it's cool.
Like when people are like, "Oh, Layton's so much fun. I love math." No.
It's logic puzzles. It's logic puzzles. You know what? I find it's like the perfect kind of thing to sit there on the bus and distract me from riding in from the Richmond to here. I mean, like, dude, it's perfect for that.
That's like what you have your Game Boy for, is to get away from that shit. Like when you're in class, right?
But it will make
If
it
you're
will
in
make you-
class playing that, you're kind of defeating the purpose.
there you go,
might as well be
teachers.
doing your
It's
math.
for the older set who's like looks back and doesn't remember a single thing about all the years they were in class and feels
Exactly.
guilty about it and now wants to get like the brain
I'm
training
learning.
games.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on Layton. I think it's actually cool, but it's just too intense for me.
Seems cool.
Wow,
as
I
long as
walked
they
into
don't
a
have much
buzzsaw on
story.
Layton. Jesus.
Well, as long as they don't, like you said, it's short.
I'm
like
just afraid
if
of
they really try to break down why this guy, like it's not like this guy wants to get this liquid into these bottles, but it's like they give you 20 minutes of like beep 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 beep, like the text appearing on the screen about how where this guy first got this bottle and what the liquid means to him and all that shit. Hey, dude, it could happen. It's a Japanese game, isn't it?
So do the puzzles have any? Do they try to make them relate to?
Not. I mean,
game
like
at
that's
all?
about as relational as they get. Is something like splitting up the wine for the guy at the cafe.
Yeah.
It's like they're not, and not even all of them are that much. Usually, it's just like you're talking casually with a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "That reminds me of a puzzle,"
Yeah.
and then they just throw this puzzle at you. And you know what? 50% of them are interesting enough to make you think, and the other 50%, like you just look at it and you go, oh, that's the answer, and click. So like it's fun, dude. I don't know. I like it. I'm having fun with it. It's keeping me. It's totally different from anything I've played in a long time.
there's nothing else
and
like
it's
it.
perfectly bite-sized to be playing. It's like I was telling Andrew. It's like that's why I play my DS. Is games like that I can pick up and play.
Pretty good frame rate too, right?
Oh, the frame rate's fantastic, man. It looks awesome. It looks fantastic. The frame rate is really good on Gran Turismo 5, though, which I think like is pretty impressive that after waiting as long as we did for it, that they actually put together something I'd say is pretty much worth $40.
The frame rate's still good. Cockpit view online.
Yes,
Whoa.
it is. However, unfortunately, right now, online is really, really, really more so than other games dependent on everybody's connection. So when you're in a room that has good connections, you can definitely tell the racing's smooth. And when you're in a racing that has anyone with a bad connection, it goes to shit so bad. And like they have all kinds of weird stuff. Like their online is, I was telling Andrew, it's so immature. It's like, why would you have it to where you buy a game and you're going to force people to use like matchmaking, and you're not even going to let them be able to have access to all the stuff that came in the box? Like if I gotta go home, I can only play because I can only play like whatever races they have open in the online arena right now. So especially like when you're a beginner, there's 2 places you can race. You can race on High Speed Ring, and you can race them to Daytona.
Oh, so you have to unlock things offline first.
You have to unlock them by advancing in a career.
Yeah, welcome to Hot Shots as well. Hot
welcome
Shots,
to Japan.
Yeah, welcome to Japan.
Again and again. Like, I don't want to be too harsh on it, but give me a fucking break. What if you bought that game and you're like, I'm only going to play this with friends. I don't want to sit here and play this on my own.
We've said it before.
Dude, I completely
Japanese
agree.
developers need to be dragged kicking and screaming into the modern online world.
And here's a game. It's about cars, and no one knows better than Yamauchi-san how many different performance levels of cars there are. And
Take
when you're
the
racing,
san out of his name until he makes it so you can play everything.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not honored now, bitch. he should know better than anybody that like lumping 70 some odd cars into 3 groups doesn't work. It's like you guys know I like the Altezas, the IS 300s or whatever. So they put an ISF into this game, and I was like, fucking awesome. I bought an ISF. I went to take it online to race, and according to their classification, it's a supercar, so I have to race against Ferraris. I'm like, come on, it's a freaking Lexus.
So
it's not a Ferrari.
there's no open class races where you can
Nope, it's all classed up. It's all classed up. So what's going to happen really quickly, I bet by the end of this weekend, the message boards will be able to tell you in each class which 2 or 3 cars are the only cars to run, and nobody else will run anything else. Which that totally frustrates me.
Against AI, right? Unless like you have
online. This is online.
playing field online, and you're that confident in your ability to beat.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, you could be like, you could be that, you could
it could be like playing Kuma in Tekken. In other words, it's like the shit talk character.
You could do that.
Your
you could
IF,
go on
whatever it is.
Still, you're not going to beat a Ferrari with a Lexus. I mean, it's just stupid.
But you are feeling the game. Did you give it a score?
Yeah, I give it a B+.
Grade?
I give it a B+. I'm really impressed with it, man. Like visually, it looks fantastic. It's unbelievable. I've watched replays in that game since obviously the first game, and it's so cool now because especially I'll just give an example on High Speed Ring. High Speed Ring is the one that has that big bridge on it. So now they've always done flyovers, so now the flyover starts as you're coming onto the bridge, and then the camera pulls back to where you can see the entire race course.
And it just looks ridiculous.
And all the cars running on it.
Jesus.
That is ridiculous. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And the new handling model is awesome. Cars feel really good, and at least on the beginner levels, the cars aren't just like slot carring. They actually are all over the road.
Better than Forza, the game?
The AIs?
The whole game. I mean,
No.
Well,
Forza is
better than Forza 2 Prologue. Oh,
yeah.
they actually release real
it.
games, not stopgaps.
Yeah, you can't compare it. I mean, Forza 2 is light years ahead in online, and this game feels as good as Forza 2, and I would say Forza 2 for me was like the benchmark for how a game should feel like driving a real car. The only thing Forza 2 doesn't have is cockpit view, but I mean, Turn 10 guys nailed it. I mean, they got that part down for sure. And that's great. Dude, it's worth $40. The most important thing about it is it amazingly is worth $40.
That's surprising.
That's a full price game.
Maybe it's worth $30.
But it costs $40.
Yeah, it costs. How about this? It's worth. If you're a Gran Turismo fan, it is actually going to be worth the $40 to you because you're going to play it. You're going to have a great time with it. And yeah, it sucks that it's $40.
Does it come with a discount for a coupon so you get $10 off the GT5 when it comes out?
No, it should though, right? You know what else I don't get is it's the same price online as it is in Blu-ray. And on Blu-ray you get this cool DVD of behind the scenes at Polyphony, and it's not the end of the world, but for anyone who's into race, into sports cars, they're gonna want to watch all that stuff.
That's a brick and mortar incentive.
Brick and mortar, my ass. Anyway,
so,
speaking of which, did you see that Steve Morgan quit?
Who? What?
Steve Morgan, the hated president of EB who moved over to GameStop.
Really? I thought it was still Joe Firestone.
No, dude, that's
I'm out of the loop.
Steve Morgan left all the.
Okay, that's enough exciting EB talk.
Huge rejoicing.
Let me talk about what I've been playing. All right, this thing's going long. I get out of here soon. So I was at the Namco Bandai event earlier this week, and I got to have hands-on time with their upcoming Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm for the PlayStation 3.
Did you put on the headband?
I did not. Although I said in my preview,
shitstorm,
I have seen in San Francisco 2 adult
headbands.
Adult males wearing Naruto
Yes,
headbands.
I have seen that.
Unashamedly. One on the bus.
I've seen one on the bus.
One on the BART.
Did they have Chuck Taylor All-Stars on too?
No, one of them was wearing a suit.
How do you know they were Naruto?
Because it's a specific thing on it. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't watch Naruto. I used to be more into anime.
It could have been Loverboy too.
Yeah,
Didn't he have one of those
he
too?
did, but trust me, it's a
band?
specific one. Anyway, I've never
Milky has one in his office.
Yeah. I've never seen Naruto. I know it's the #1 manga in anime. It's huge.
Is that the truth? You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Not a minute of it?
Not a minute of it.
Okay.
Literally, I'm not into the fighting shows. Never watched Dragon Ball, any of that. But so when I saw this game, the graphics are crazy because it really does look like 3D anime, and partially that's done because the characters aren't that detailed. So like a lot of effort goes into like the shading, and yeah, the graphics are pretty stunning. Like I think everyone was really impressed. And I got my hands on it, and it's not a traditional fighting game. It's one-on-one, but it's very simplified. You have like melee attack, you have like one attack button, and you have like a chakra button, which is a modifier to make your attacks more powerful. So it's a little bit more like Power Stone, and it's very fast and crazy, arcadey, over the top. And the attacks you're doing are just insane. The camera's going everywhere, stupid special moves. It's really impressive, but I did feel like it's a little automatic for me, like someone who likes serious fighters.
So it's kind of like Budokai, right?
I mean,
Dragon Ball Z.
It's like the Dragon Ball games, and the developer CyberConnect, they made the last PS2 game. So if you're someone who's been playing Naruto games, it's what you've been used to, but it's like way prettier. And they added like you can summon people to help you, kind of like King of Fighters. You can just press LNR and they come and do strikes, and you can bring items into battle. And the big thing is they added towns, like big towns you can explore, and in those towns you find little fetch quests and different kind of missions you can take, 100 different missions, and some of those are really special, do different things. They showed me one where you fight this huge boss, and the boss was like one of the biggest bosses I've ever seen. Like I told him, this is bigger than the last boss of Devil May Cry 4, and just like some random boss in your game. And yeah, just the graphics are sick, but no online play, kind of a downer too.
Didn't Ubisoft have a Naruto game?
They did for Xbox 360. And that was more of like an adventure meets a fighter. It got like decent reviews last fall, but this is pure arcadey fighter, pure Power Stone-y fighter. Comes out this fall, coming out first in America, which goes to show you how powerful Naruto has become as a brand here before it comes out in Japan. So. Yeah,
did you have a chance to check out Afro Samurai?
I looked at it. I didn't get to play it. I've heard mixed reports on it. Like the graphics are definitely better than I expected. It kind of stole that like strokey animation look from Valkyria, that Sega game.
It looks cool. I really like the style of it.
I wasn't completely sold on it. It's still a ways off. We'll see. I did get my hands on it. The other game that I was there to play was Soul Calibur 4, which I've played before, and this time they had two characters that hadn't been available before.
One of them the entirely misplaced looking anime one with like spiky.
That's Angle Fear. Like neither of the two anime guest characters were there. The two characters who hadn't
is that a guest character?
Yeah, she's a guest character.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that
she's not a real Soul
Calibur. Is that the one with the big
boobs? Big spike boobs, a giant spikes.
Is that the Soul Calibur
they all
with the big boobs?
Well, she has huge tits with giant like
is that the game
4-inch spikes?
Village people?
Yeah. But so the characters were Cassandra was there, and she's really good as always, super fast. They showed her critical finish, which was like she sits on your head and giant pink hearts come out of her butt. It was redonkulous.
Really?
Yeah, it was insane.
Wait, who did this now?
Cassandra.
Yeah. Why did the hearts come out? I mean, she used to always do that.
I mean, she's cutesy, but it's crazy now. The
hearts are coming out of it?
Giant pink laser hearts out of her butt.
What are they doing, man?
So the other new character was Hildegard. Hild, the only real new Soul Calibur character we've seen, and she's kind of like a female Siegfried. She has a giant lance and a little short sword, and she was awesome. She has the longest range of any character in the game.
But longer than Ivy with the full whip extension.
Maybe not that, but like any traditional, just like regular hit, all her hits.
Further than Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I totally didn't like her.
I did like her.
Really?
Yeah. I did like her. And like to use her short sword moves, a lot of those were kick moves. Her ground game is crazy because she like just stabs you. And
that was the part that threw me off. Is her short sword stuff is like all tied into her kick stuff, and then like the stuff with her pike is super devastating, but it's really slow.
And she's a little weaker than you think, and she gets like crossed up really easily.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't that effective with her, but I want to learn more about her.
So did they show you the moves with her pike that's like the new mechanic where if you do a strike, like you do a strike with the pike, and then you hold the strike button down, it starts a new combo with the pike skewered into your opponent.
You can move it in different ways, and yeah, she's kind of a new archetype, which is cool.
The way that works always made me wish they would just rip off some of the weapons from Hiroaki Samura's Blade of the Immortal series. Just like multiple. I mean, the weapons that he just basically makes up. Like, there's this one ninja guy, Magatsu. This is where I'm turning into a Dragon Ball Z fan. But that's different. Like, that's a qualitatively different book than those other ones. But
you keep telling yourself
in the handle, he's able to pull out another sword from that, and then in the hilt of that, there's a dagger. But it's always like it would be easy enough to like stab someone with that to start a throw, pull out the second sword, and then do something with that. And I want to
they said
like that.
The director said there are more guest characters from famous anime and manga artists still to come, and there are more real Soul Calibur characters, new real Soul Calibur characters to come.
So we may still see Kimba.
You might. My only fear now is online play might be. My fear is that online play might be janked because there's no online play in the Xbox Live version of Soul Calibur coming out, which is a big bummer. And Yeah, it's no online play in that.
Wait, in the whole Xbox version?
Not of Soul Calibur 4.
No,
of
the
Soul
original.
Calibur
We have
1.
in the news. So
We'll get to that. Xbox Live Arcade version of that.
Oh.
But, Tekken DR had some lag, and Mr. Driller Online has, crippling lag that destroys it. So I'm a little worried about Namco being able to produce netcode that really works.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Sounds like
that's
it.
a bummer. I
Yeah.
imagine that. Yeah.
So that's me.
Right.
Hey, before we end the Now Playing, I did want to say that I've been playing a lot of COD4, but just to tell, I know some listeners have asked where I play, but all the hardcore servers, there's very few, but there's Crazy 8s and Falcon Hardcore, and I want people to come because we have this thing where we have enough of us in there that we can win any vote. So we institute this series of propositions. So if an admin comes in and be like Crazy 8, whatever, Warpath, and he's like, stop bunny hopping, we'll just be like, it's lead skipping, dude. And then we just say, all right, everyone vote yes on Prop 1, and it's vote kick the admin. Everyone votes yes, and then he's out. And then
another
one will come in, he'll
kick
tell
the admin.
Yeah, and then because we outnumber him on the vote, and if we're fast, so as soon as we see we tab to see the player list, and we see oh shit, here comes another C8 guy. He must have told someone in vent to get in and get us. So be like, everyone, yes on Prop 2, and then he comes in and we kick him, and then they're all tap banned. But yeah, so the more the merrier, and the more likely our propositions are gonna single issue
Server
voting.
jacking by Sean Elliott. Perfect. All right, coming up in the community, matchmaking. So stick around.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming. The Earth is being attacked by a horde of alien brain thingies. Although the situation looks dire, please do not be alarmed. The teenage zombies are coming to the rescue. Zach, Finns, and Lefty are putting their appetites for brains to good use and have the situation under control. Please report all sightings to Teenage Zombies headquarters at oneup.com, where you can enter to win fabulous prizes. And be sure to pick up your copy of Teenage Zombies, available today for Nintendo DS. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
All right, we're back, and as I found out during the break, one of the reasons that I was thinking Professor Layton might have looked something like a Level 5 game was I thought Level 5 made Wild Arms, and I failed.
Yep.
It was actually Contrail.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Sorry, gang. Thought I knew something I didn't know. Surprise, right? So here we go. First thread that we have here from the message boards comes from... this is easy. Blade of the Immortal. And this one's about matchmaking, which I thought was interesting because there's a lot of talk about matchmaking, and especially with relationship to Gran Turismo, Call of Duty, all those different games. So Blade of the Immortal says, to be honest, I get pissed off with matchmaking. I love Warhawk's regular style of giving me a list of servers to choose from. That way they can, go back to the same place, play that way, and not have to be stuck in the matchmaking loop. He says, you can't play what you want to play. Most of the options suck or come up too often. Case in point, Halo 3 and shoddy snipers. Fuck that shit. Sure, you can veto it, but that's just a crapshoot. Sometimes you end up with something even worse. And he says, I could be the only person who thinks this way. I hope I'm not. There's a reason that people like to play Battlefield 2 with Strike on Kirkland more than others, and it's because the others just aren't as good.
But can't games have both matchmatching and server lists?
Few do.
Few do?
Right
Yeah,
now.
few do.
They
That's
could,
true.
yeah.
They
they
tend to
don't.
go
They
either
don't.
or.
Yeah.
I agree. You're not alone, dude. When
alone at all.
the matchmaking was first announced for Halo 2, it sounded horrible to me for the same reasons. It's I want to know, I want to pick the map I'm on, I want to look at the ping of it, I want to see how many people are in there, if they're clanners or not. I want to see, all these things that I'm used to doing. I think now, over time, you get used to it, and it's this is just how Halo works. It's cool, and the benefits are clear too. I won't go off on those, but yeah, just you're not alone.
But you shouldn't let yourself get accustomed to it. That doesn't necessarily make it good. The Space Pope is another person who completely agrees. Says, this is a weird coincidence. I just now turned off my 360 in utter frustration at Call of Duty 4's matchmaking and was looking to bitch about it somewhere. My problem is mostly geographic. He lives in Australia, and it's impossible to get a good ping unless most of the Americans are asleep, because otherwise all the servers are filled up with North American servers, so you can't get a good ping, can't get match made into matches. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. That's a completely valid complaint.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the PC, we're just used to that. I don't know about Sean, but that's the number one criteria I search on. First is ping.
Right.
And second would be, is it full of clan guys or whatever? But first, I just want to find something I know is going to run smooth on my PC. And in fact, that was one of our initial complaints with Windows Live when they introduced that. And we saw it first, I guess, with Gears of War for PC, that in the Windows Live interface, you could not search by ping.
Yeah.
And for PC players, that's just
dumb.
death. Yeah.
But I do think matchmaking is meant to be accessible and like less
Yes.
intimidating because
Yes.
like the average person doesn't know what their ping is or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
What's going on
for
with all
for a
that
more casual or
Yeah.
new game or whatever, matchmaking is
All right,
very
so
convenient.
Dragon Knights 22 agreed with you on that. Says they love matchmaking because it keeps them from getting kicked by disgruntled hosts. Anytime an automatic system can be implemented that completely negates any capacity from interference from a human, that pleases me. With matchmaking, you don't have to worry about the server quitting the game. You don't have to worry about unbalanced teams. You don't have to worry about unfair. You don't have to worry about unfair settings that favor one team. You don't have to worry about Sean Elliott so much. you got all kinds of good reasons there. Let's see. And then last but not least, I had to include Lilu5's response because I thought it was just hilarious. Lilu's all like, matchmaking does suck. Why pay for Call of Duty 4 and Halo 3 maps if you won't ever see them in online play, or they always get vetoed? Team Fortress 2 PC, I always get to play the map I want in Halo and Call of Duty 4. I rarely do. Me to Bungie, can I play Capture the Flag? Bungie, no, we don't like Capture the Flag. Please play Single Bomb on this map. Me, but there are hundreds of thousands of people online. Surely someone wants to play Capture the Flag. Bungie, no, we don't like it.
That's a moment.
That's freaking hilarious. Nice move there. What else we got here? From Video Star. It's because you have Video Star. Video Star is wondering what pulled people away from PC gaming and what could or did bring you back. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm not just doing this as a troll because this is a very long thread. And interestingly enough, I think Video Style walked into a buzzstorm themselves because a lot of people were like, "You're what do you mean pulled me away? I'm playing PC games all the time now." And so what are you talking about? But just to give the point that they did, they said some of the points that were brought up was installing and having to deal with long installation times, not being able to get a game to work straight out of the box, getting accustomed to playing. This is ironic. Getting accustomed to playing with a controller. Remember how long we heard that people were like, "Oh, you got to have mouse and keyboard," and now people are going to use the opposite argument.
I mean, they're saying they're used to playing with a controller.
They're used to playing with
I think
a
that's part
controller.
of the Xbox is what pulled people away from PC gaming specifically.
It's intimidating when you're first learning to use a mouse as a gaming interface as opposed to like a porn surfing interface or whatever.
Porn surfing.
Well, no, I mean, this is different. It's the same movement. Well, it's not the same movement.
So I don't know. I mean, wow. I have my personal experience, which I'll relate in a minute. Let me give you a couple of other examples. Grocer's Pride said that they were just getting into PC gaming, and that the reason they hadn't been into PC gaming before was that growing up they didn't have a decent PC. So when I got one that can run Counter-Strikes a few or so years ago, I played that a lot, but never really got into gaming until last year when finally built a gaming rig, and then just from there immediately took off. And I think that's what's cool about this is that then a lot of the people in these threads that were just getting into PC gaming had questions of so what should I play? What real-time strategy game should I play? What shooters should I check out? That's something maybe that we should look at, just coming up with what do you think, Jeff? A starter pack of, I don't know.
Well, we actually have talked about that as doing something to put on the GFW front door. I'm sorry, I'm playing with.
He's getting ready to do laundry. He has his change
I've got
out.
my change out here. We have talked about putting together some kind of starter pack for so you want to be a PC gamer and have it be sort of here's the fundamental sort of basic rig you should get, or here's what we're currently recommending for a video card or whatever, along with sort of a starter pack of games. So that's something we're looking at doing.
We should do that. So I have to. What should we put on? What should we think about putting on the list? I know something I would put on the list. I would put one of the Baldur's Gate games. I mean, you really shouldn't miss that. Maybe
it depends on how old you want to go back to. I mean, if you go back too old,
I think
you're
that
going
would
to start
hold up
getting
well.
into cruddy graphics that people are going to be going, huh?
I think if someone just bought a top-line PC and you're like, "Oh, these great hits from 1989 for you to play," that might be this is not why I bought this.
It might be a turn-off. Yeah, you might want to go the other way.
Crisis. How about that?
There
one?
you go.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about because I haven't been a PC gamer my whole life, and it's you get a game that just works well for you and you end up really liking it. You just need oftentimes you just need one. It's kind of
right.
Whatever your gateway is. This happened to Robert Ashley, a freelancer for the 1UP group, where I finally got him to play Team Fortress 2 on his PC, and then what happened after that is he's like, I'm used to the idea of playing a game on this machine now. Let's see what else is there. And then he fell in love with Stalker. Now he started playing Civ, and now he's getting into Company Heroes.
Oh, Civ 4 would be good.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is that you're into, if you're really into shooters, just pick a really good shooter and get into that. I mean, the other thing is like
Certainly
we talk
the
about
Half-Life
games all the time
games,
on both this show
would
and
say.
GFW Radio,
Yeah.
so you can kind of get a sense from that.
Underrated. I'd go for Brothers in Arms. Because those
Great game.
Those
Great-
games are
great
awesome, and
series.
they're like there's something that I don't think they translate well to console. At least they haven't
I really
translated well
like
to
those
console.
on console.
Yeah.
I really did, yeah, because those games aren't so much about like requiring the precision as employing the tactics in the way that you suppress people and that you flank them, so that how you can. There are times when. If they're not suppressed, or if they're fully suppressed, you're fine. You don't need to like shoot them in the head. Then you can just walk around the side of them and rip them all up with a burst from a Thompson or something.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it.
I like the mouse and keyboard particularly because of the different stuff you have to keep up with in that game, and it made it easier for me than trying to fumble around a controller. But I might find it different when I go back. I'm really anxious to play the new one this fall or next spring,
delayed, but
whenever.
God, it should.
That was a game that really did kind of make a kind of breakthrough, just in the way of doing, for me at least, in terms of doing commands for your squad in a simple way.
And still feeling
always
like you're in the
felt
thick of the
cool.
shit.
But in no way is Brothers in Arms like some amazing PC experience that
No,
can't be
you're
had on console. I
you're
think it
totally
came out.
right.
I think it
You're
came out at
right.
the same time on everything. Actually,
You're right. I agree with you.
The obvious is like it's available elsewhere, but like if you get Half-Life 2 and start there, that's like a perfect game. The games that I always talk about, like pick an RTS or something, but or like Team Fortress.
Oh yeah.
Team Fortress,
another
I
good
think
one.
I would recommend for
And
sure.
yeah, and if you have some experience playing it on 360, that's the kind of game where you'll immediately notice the difference. Something like COD, because it's the Xbox and PS3
So
versions
similar.
are so well
It's the same
designed.
game.
But it's not though, because the way there that they have like the targeting and the way that it'll like sort of like lock onto someone for a second once you've had your crosshair in the area, it makes it seem just right for whatever you're playing it on, and you're going to be like, oh, this works fine either. But like something like TF2, you'll see like this game was made for a mouse. Scout is nowhere near as useful without it, and all these other things about it, spying and.
Okay. Grape Ape brought up a really good point, too, that this is one that I think that I sort of understand. He says, I tend to feign from PC gaming about the time my current PC begins to lag behind the curve when it comes to games. And then when I get around to building a new one, I jump right back into things and spend most of my time going back and trying to play through all the great games I might have missed. Usually during my PC playing downswing, I'm busy playing games on consoles. So Grape, dude, I fall into that exact same situation because, like, right now, we were just talking about during the break, I have to decide whether I'm going to build a machine or, like, get one of the inexpensive XPS machines. And I'm sure as soon as I do, like, I'll be playing many more PC games again. It's just, like, right now, my home rig is not very PC capable. It's not that great.
You could play on any machine. You try Trackmania Unlimited. It's free now.
Trackmania Unlimited is awesome. I did play that. Like when we were talking about that on this show like a year ago. Remember I got like the download from where was it? Nando? Is that who makes that? Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, it's cool. It's a good game, and it's free now, which you can get off like all plots. We can get it off Filefront even.
Yes.
Last but not least, and this is like the lead into what we're going to talk about for a minute afterwards, is a thread from OMNE, and that would be should video games ever be read in quotations? And what they really mean is, should you try and read stuff into what the game is trying to convey? Points out that critically acclaimed films, for example, are always noted not just for their cinematography or their performances and directing, but also for themes, motifs, and allusions that deliver a message about the world we live in. And to contrast that, the problem with games is that the first priority of a game is for it to be fun. So is it out of the question to try and read stuff into BioShock in the same way that you read into 1984, or are you stretching it? If you're trying to do all that kind of stuff in an academic sort of way, are you diminishing enjoyment of the game?
It depends on the game largely. I'd say most games don't have a lot of subtext, don't have textured, nuanced narratives, but a lot of them do. More recent, as we progress, the games are getting better at it. And a game like BioShock, there's definitely is stuff there.
Oh, absolutely.
And Levine will tell you like the stuff that's there, and there's room for literary analysis of games.
Right, and some have it unintentionally too.
Right, and it doesn't diminish. I think it adds like a game with a really good story that you're left thinking about and get stuff from. That's great.
The unintentional part is interesting. You brought that up because Esky514 pointed out that same thing in Call of Duty 4, and how particularly in the air support level, when you're in this removed, hovering gunship just blowing away people, it gives you this weird like sense of the humanity of it, but at the same time says, obviously, however, in no way is Call of Duty 4 a resonant anti-war game. It's definitely not an art game. It's just a bravado game.
He's definitely meant, bringing up to me probably the most, memorable scene I've played in a game in the last couple of years because of that, because I found that so disturbing.
Yeah.
You know,
are you talking about the scene where you're from the helicopter watching, like,
where you're in the I don't know the name of the plane. You're in the plane and you're directing the.
Oh yeah, it's all like it's what you watch on the news and you're seeing things get blown up. Yeah,
right.
I found that part really affecting because it's like ripped from headlines. Like, this is modern warfare, and like the glorified, like you're not down there, first person shooting. But you're up here, so removed from it, and like I think it's incredibly intentional.
Yeah. But
yes.
intentional.
It was. I don't think it necessarily was. When I spoke,
agreed.
I was really surprised in a sort of post-mortem interview I had with, like, you have to forgive me if it was Jason West or Vince Zampella or Grant Collier, one of those. And there really didn't seem to be much interest in doing anything other than just verisimilitude, other than reflecting what it looks like, what filters you would view the battlefield from those firing positions on that vehicle. And that was really odd because everyone else was reading into it that it wanted to highlight, if you will, the extent to which modern warfare detaches a person from the act of killing, and like the further away you get, and even things like, I'm surprised there are no like unmanned, maybe this is for the next one, but predator drones and things like this shooting Hellfire missiles and killing people when they just become, and then the fact that it was powerful because it was in a video game that you were playing a face of warfare that is like a video game, and it's just like this weird loop where it's feeding back into itself. And I don't know if, I'm sure some people on the team were thinking it, but I don't know if like everyone was like, this is why we're doing this level here. I think it was like, we need to change, we need a break in the pacing. We just had a level that was like really, infantry intensive and had an attack stage and a defense stage. We got another one coming up. Let's do something different here. And this is cool.
And it's badass. How about, this is super badass.
Right, but
which is kind of the Call of Duty.
Or not, it did make us all stop and think.
Right.
Like, okay, wow, this is.
And that didn't detract from your appreciation for the game. On the contrary, in this case, it added to it. There's this weird thing. Jeff and I, like, when you brought this question up, we kind of looked at each other because we did some talk about a similar subject on this week's GFW Radio.
Oh, cool.
There's a lot of negative feedback about it, and it's coming from. There's like this weird cake and wanting your cake and wanting to eat it too reaction I see in certain posters and people online, and that's that whenever you attack the quality of a game story or challenge it or something, you hear, no, games aren't, you fucking idiot, you're just too stupid to see how incredibly like sophisticated it is. I'm not like, this is not about Shane or anything, just whatever it may be, just some other game. And then you go around and you start talking about maybe some of the implications of a game. They're like, games are just for fun, you fucking idiot. Why are you trying to make them into something they're not? Games are just for fun. They're just for fun. Well, it's like, well, what is it, man? Do you want to, like, you're talking, it's the explanation you use for your mom when you want to get away with playing GTA some more and curb stomping the prostitutes, and then the explanation you tell your teacher when you're like, can I write a paper about GTA this quarter? So the thing is, for me, that it works both ways. It's fun. It's it's fine. If it's not intended, sometimes it is intended, like Shane pointed out with BioShock, and that's there.
Like Too Human.
Dyack
is very clear. I'm writing this on 3 levels. He's out there about it.
And to discuss that doesn't mean that you're not enjoying the fact that it's like, dude, the physics in that level in the AC-30. Did you see like 15 ragdolls just go flying and like land on the roof of the house and slide off? There's still that there at the same time. In the way that when you talk about Resident Evil 5, no matter what the discussion is, you're like, that looks intense, I want to play that.
See, the thing,
but it's like you can do more than that, and it doesn't.
Right.
And the thing that's interesting to me about Call of Duty is I don't think it was really intentional, but their game was so effective at getting you into like the intensity of the moments, and especially like leading up to that when you leading up to that had been like some really, really heavy fighting, and so then all of a sudden you've had this image burned in your eyes of like, what it's like looking down the gun barrel, you have this real sense of like, what those guys down on the ground are running around in, and then you're up there in this TV camera and you're blowing these dudes away, and like Andrew pointed out, like you were into like the weird radio chatter, like, smoke that dude, killed that guy. You're like, wow, this is so
like
creepy.
What would happen if Activision made a Call of Duty that had like a subtle anti-war message throughout? Like, what would happen?
Cool.
I think it would be a huge clusterfuck, and they would be like crucified for it. The games that have weird messages, a game like Killer 7, like for me, the symbolism and the subtlety of the narrative was the best thing in that game. It like totally outshined the gameplay.
That's the difference again between, like, if you said our point is to make people think that this specific war is a complete, misstep and it's a dark point moment in American history. And the difference between saying the message of this game is that people should at least examine both the causes and the outcomes of war, and they're totally different. There's one that's just preaching, and like everyone, same reason that just anything that's overly, like, a lot of people didn't react well to Syriana because they felt it went too far into just being didactic and telling you what to think. But that doesn't mean because it's not telling you, it's not giving you the answers, it's still making you think. Like, I know we're both fans of David Lynch. We love Mulholland Drive. That movie has got plenty of stuff to riff on in it. It just is not saying here's the Rosetta Stone, and it's just like the Pilgrim's Progress or something, where the whole thing is like you can break it down on a case by case. This is what it means. This is what we're trying to get
Let me
at.
try my explanation again. Like, the thing about Call of Duty 4 and that scene particularly, I think that made it work so well was maybe that they weren't forcing it and that it left it open, and your imagination or your thinking about it was what made it compelling because you were there and then it mattered.
Right, and I don't think anyone on the team is going to say, "Oh, this is what you're supposed to think," and that's
right.
No one wants that. Like, I don't want any game to tell me what I'm supposed to think about a story. It's like what you take from it,
Right. I mean, I think 99.9% of shooters really are just variations on Doom. The point is just that you're just killing shit, right? And it's just the setting is used as an excuse because it's a cool setting, or because it's a setting you're familiar with, or because Nazis are fun to kill, or whatever it happens to be. These are just things where the point is to shoot things, and so there's really, nobody's really going to make a World War II game where. Well, you can't use World War II because the morality is a little more clear there, but say an Iraq War game where they're actually trying to send a message. I don't see how that would work.
Iraq War I or Iraq War II?
Well, either.
Well, they have,
50 Cent.
Black Site Area 51 is pretty close to being a
anti-war.
Well, look, even you could take Battlefield Vietnam.
which
was a mainstream game based on the Vietnam War. And that game was not about, let's examine the causes of why the United States and France before the United States happened to be in this part of the world and what it meant for the people who lived here. This was about you're in a jungle setting, killing people in camouflage.
As you run someone over.
Yes, I guess some of those Vietnam games actually did sort of tread into some weird spots. Like
Shell Shock, it did. A bunch of the
definitely.
single-player ones for 360.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean, it'd be weird to be playing a shooter that's a war game where all of a sudden you start getting the message like this is bad. You're just
I mean, I think that's
I'll stop playing.
I think it's something that can happen. Like it's an undiscovered country.
But that's like
a game where you go
like,
AWOL.
It's not, this is bad, but it's like this is complicated. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
That's where like when there is someone in a house and you don't know, because like part of people that are in Iraq now, I mean, and then in other wars in American history, part of the challenge is who's your friend and who's your enemy. And if you're not super careful about making these calls, not only are you going to face tribunal, but you're just going to make things harder for yourself by giving the enemy more resources, giving him more people to fight, for on his side. And it's like, that's not like just good or bad. This just reflects the complexity. And also it's a service to the people that are actually, whose lives we're turning and deaths we're turning into entertainment. It's saying that, like, yes, it's not just about pointing at shit with your crosshairs and screaming.
you can build that complex a dynamic. You can build a damn good game.
Yeah, I mean, and they do it in some ways. That's why you get the shell shock when you do play some parts of when I'll play COD for something at the very best moments, and you just feel like taxed afterward, and you're like, good God, the people that do this. I mean, thank God for them, but it's just insane.
Well, I'll say, if you want to play a game that is really all about war, modern war, its ramifications, and seeing it from many different angles, it's Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. More than any game I've ever played.
All right, just to wrap that little subject up there, Tristessa would agree with Shane that there's no reason that it would diminish your enjoyment of the game, that to have more background to it, just no matter how it's done, and that sees the problem here is actually what happens not in the game, but the problem happens when people start discussing it, because not everybody gets on the same page, not everybody sees the same things behind stuff. It's the same kind of thing as when you watch a movie and you enjoy it, but a movie critic said that it was awful because they're not seeing it the same way you have. Just different interpretations is the filter that gets in there. Which leads us to this. Aeneas Shrike chimed in on this subject, saying that it wasn't going to go down this original poster's title thread, but it had made them think about how they played games, and on that subject, that as they've gotten older, that they wouldn't typify all of their game playing as fun. And this is kind of like, this is a matter of how you define words, but it does kind of sort of open the discussion about how gaming is broadened beyond just the sort of, visceral, immediate, let's just have a good time and be silly and smile thing. So it goes on to say that while some arcade games are fun, some of my full games like Katamari I might call fun. Many of the full games I would be more inclined to, many of the other full games I'd be more inclined to reference as engrossing. And then he's turning around. It's a little sad, right?
No, what's I know. So I could read your mind.
No, go ahead.
Compelling.
Yeah,
compelling.
I can specifically.
Sean and I, that's our word of the week.
Compelling.
Compelling.
We got called out for that last week. I think I used it like 3 times or something. Anyway, so basically just saying that fun is more kid description, but there's more to these entertainments now than that. And then the overall reflection was that as he's grown up and changed the way he plays, like he expects more and different things from the different sorts of entertainment he plays. So what do you guys, how has your gaming changed over the past 10 years in what you play and what you expect and what you want out of games?
It's gotten a lot more erotic.
I mean, I don't think it's changed for me. I don't think it's changed for me in 10 years, but in 20 years it has. And
Okay.
I think because games have changed, like,
Right.
you didn't have a game that with deep and nuanced political storylines when I was, 10 years old.
Or even
you're playing for fun
like
and challenge.
a game that's just like horrifying, like
Right.
a Silent Hill or
Yeah.
something.
Like-
it's not like that deep, or I mean, sometimes they are pretty thought provoking, but like. It's like a game. It's not fun. You're scared, or you're just like nervous, or you just feel shitty because you're in this gross world.
Condemned too.
And it still is engrossing. Yeah, Condemned is another example of that. And it's like movies. You like when you go see a tragedy or something. You're not like, this is fun,
Right.
but you
can respect it.
there's a wide range of experiences that make movies worth watching, and games are getting closer to having that variety.
But if you look at like what Nintendo does, they're still all focused on fun, and
Absolutely.
it still works. I mean, they're obviously, if you get to NPDs, they're still ruling the roost, and fun is still the number one thing people look for in video games. But it's been broadened greatly in the last 20 years to include lots of other things and challenging, difficult kind of games that, like, I'm sure Sean and I are into. Like the average consumer probably won't want to play those games, but I'm glad there's a place for them, and like they get to come to market.
Well, you guys kind of were turned off by me being so interested in Professor Layton, but I don't know. I mean, that's not.
Well, it's a hit. It's a big hit, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, it sold really well in America and Japan, and
It was heavily marketed
very
too.
heavily marketed.
That's what I was going to say. When Jeff, when you asked for an example of the kind of puzzles, it's like they're like on the bus stop downstairs from our office. They've been there and on the sides of buses all the time.
Right?
I know one of the when I play that game, I'm going to know exactly which crank to put on that fucking crank.
But like now that
seen
kids can grow up playing these more complex games, I think it is going to change their expectations. And like I've talked about this before, that Pokemon, like the hundreds and millions of Pokemon kids out there, have all secretly been indoctrinated to play hardcore Japanese RPGs.
Right.
Tons of text, tons of statistics, tons of grinding. And what does that do to these kids? I think it makes them more susceptible and open to more complex kinds of games, and that's good.
And to communism.
It's interesting that the next generation of gamers, how they're going to expect different things. And like one interesting point is like how many people play these free MMOs that none of us like want to pay any attention to, but the stuff like Habbo Hotel and Maple Story and all this
There
stuff.
are millions of people playing
And the
that.
dynamics of those, I think, are going to be pretty influential on what like the next generation of gamers expects from them.
Or even just the wow effect. I mean, we really can't know what that's going to do to these people,
Yeah. I would say that my, many decades of gaming, that it hasn't really changed a whole lot because I'm just going to pick certain things for the different kind of moods I might be in. I do agree that now that there are kind of other types of worlds or games, Condemned being a good example, something where you can just go in because it's like, it's kind of disturbing. I mean, it's like going to see Schindler's List or any kind of movie where this is not actually going to be, quote, a good time, but I'm going to get something out of it. I don't think there was that when I was younger, but there definitely were times when I just wanted to fuck around. I just wanted to play Frogger to see how far I could get in this thing. Or there were other times when I wanted to think more. So, I'm thinking even now, like, maybe I'm playing Kingdom Hearts and I'm just goofing off, or I'm playing Wii Sports with my daughter. Or other times on the same night later on, I'm playing Civ because what I'm looking for really is like the equivalent of chess. Right, where I'm really like trying to think. I'm playing for fun, quote unquote, but it's also to do like a brain challenge to myself, and I think that's been consistent over the years, all these decades. So I don't think age really changes like what you're looking for in games. I don't know. Do any of you guys feel
it's
fundamentally
not
that
the
different
age.
as a
I don't
gamer?
think it. Yeah, I think the question got kind of weird because it's not like my. Well, actually, I can answer both differently. Like age has changed what I look for in games, but I think it's like games have changed as the medium ages.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But for like me now, like you, I for the most part for single player games, I'd prefer that they're easier than more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just gotten used to being able to select easy and not have a problem with that.
And just not giving
a while
fuck
to
what
get
anyone
there.
says. Let the
I just want to get through it. I want to get to the fucking end.
Celebrate that.
I think it's that maybe that as the spectrum of what's available out there in games has broadened, there's more different sorts of wants that games can satisfy. Like this is something I was talking about. I didn't remember who I was having the conversation with, but it was about a week ago. I was talking about how much I've enjoyed picking up casual games and playing them because they have like that same sort of like immediacy that you used to have playing a quarter arcade game, like a Pac-Man or whatever.
There's no commitment.
Yeah,
right. You're in and out.
But it's
right.
but it's fun. It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, you're not like it's not anything spectacularly overwhelming. You're not thinking a lot of. You're just having fun with it. Like I cannot stop. I still can't stop playing Peggle. I cannot stop playing that damn game. And I don't know what it is. It's just fun. I just play it and have a good time with it. But then there's other games like like I like to play sports games because they like satisfy my competitive urges. And I like Gran Turismo 5. I'm not going to guarantee that I'm having fun like the way he's talking about fun playing Gran Turismo 5 because I want to hit the frickin' perfect line every time. I want to get the lowest time around the track. I want to, that drives like that whole perfectionist sort of thing. And then, other times I want to like buy like the BioShocks. I want to get pulled into the story. Like there's all sorts of different whatever needs or wants that that different sorts of games fill.
So this Nintendo's genius and just reaching out to because the differences among demographics. I mean, just like bringing a lot of women in, bringing a lot of like people that are different age set in,
Yeah.
And my girlfriend loves buying a bunch of DS and Wii games, and it's like I see advertisements like she gets like Oprah's magazine or something. I'll see ads for the same stuff in there, and it's like, I mean that variety's good, and it's like if you just we're used to the hardcore mentality, make gamers for us, and there's a range there that includes everything from Geometry Wars to Civ 4, but
Right. I mean, I think that's why, and Shane, you talked about the commitment Nintendo's had to making fun games. I mean, I think that's why probably I hadn't clicked on having to buy a Wii yet, but like when I played Boom Blocks, I was all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, this is it, I gotta have it, because it was like instantly like smile on your face, having a good time.
Like, that multiplayer, you can imagine whenever I pull this out, it'll be fun.
Yeah,
and like Wii Sports is really the same way, and you kind of know it's just like the fun machine, but you don't really expect to be having these long, crazy, complicated experiences with Wii yet. So much,
right? Wii Sports, like at our house, that is the perfect thing for my daughter and me to do while my wife is making dinner, because we have that kind of antiquated setup in our house. So the wife's in the kitchen making dinner,
where she belongs, right?
Where she belongs.
You're playing Wii
barefoot.
Sports,
and me and the kid have like
you're playing Cooking Mama on the Wii.
We got like 10 minutes, so we'll just play tennis or something. It's awesome.
So not much controversy here. It sounds like we're all kind of in agreement that like there are fun games, but there's like a lot more that the Spectrum offers, and that people
and I
play
think
different games.
It's only going to get better, and like as the medium evolves.
Yeah.
I want to see more people even embrace the fun, though. A lot of times you have the makings of a game that could just be fun to do nothing but explore the mechanics of it. Case in point, like I picked up Mercury, Archer McLean's. This is the prequel to Reginald Fortress Barium.
Right.
And it's like it would be so much fun to just manipulate this piece of mercury and as it breaks apart into little droplets and goes through like color things, and then you mix the colors again as they come together. But instead they're like, well, we got to have these really hard challenges. And it very quickly becomes about like, I made this comment about Kora Rimpa. It's another ball rolling game, and they're so determined that we have to have this really hard challenge. So you're doing it over and over again. You're like, well, wouldn't it just be fun if you just give me like a big board, like a Garry's Mod thing, and let me just fling this shit all over? And like, there's still some goals in it.
That would be cool.
But it's not gonna like bust my ass with like a 15-second time limit. So
this is why it seems like that we as critics and of course gamers too, we always go nuts about games like Katamari that come along, because they just do that.
I mean, there's still goals, but it's not.
There's still goals, but they're not impossible. In fact, they're actually pretty easy. It's always kind of a relief to get a game like that, where like, okay, this is going to be cool. Okami, where we're going to get to do something new that's totally fun and that's not going to make us feel shitty about ourselves.
It's a sign of like superior design, I believe, because it means that instead of having to condition people to continue playing with just the old school. Here's a series of challenges, and you're playing just because you want to complete all of them. It's like you're playing just because it's fun.
Right.
This game is
Of
fundamentally
course, we better
fun
say
to
we're
play.
not saying all games need to be easy.
Oh, no.
Jeff Green doesn't even want a challenge. It's because he sucks.
Well,
I still need hard games.
I hear you. I know.
all right.
Send your
listen.
angry email to Ryan, not to me.
We have to let.
Shane, you suck at Smash Brothers. That's why you don't like it.
That's exactly
Did
right.
you even
Do
play
you
it?
suck at Smash Brothers?
Pussy.
Jesus.
No, David Ellis is nodding yes. Yeah, he sucks.
Oh, he does
Well,
suck.
fine. I'm leaving.
All right, so
outta here.
Shane is
Taking my
leaving.
ball.
Did you play it on hardcore? Oh, well, don't talk to me. Did you play it on veteran? Oh, well,
I'm leaving this podcast.
And where are you going?
The Glow in the Dark concert.
Yeah, you're going to go check out some Kanye, brother.
Not just Kanye.
Oh, that's right.
Who's
And
at
also
the show?
Lupe Fiasco's there.
Riri, Nerd.
There you go.
The whole
So,
thing. So
We got to let him go. He's headed out the door for that. David Ellis is going to pick up the slack
David
on
Ellis
the
on the
news
NPDs.
tips. So stick around. We'll be right
Jeff and I got to go, too. We got a magazine to make.
back.
Oh.
All right, we're back and ready to. David Ellis, associate producer, GameVideos.com, now joining us for the news tip, aka Big Fun.
Yep.
David.
Shane had bigger and better things to do, so
Yeah.
figured
Well, there
I'd
you
step
go.
in and help.
All right, we got some MPD numbers here, and we also have some fantastic corporate rhetoric to go with them. Anyone like
Awesome.
There's no real. There's a thing or two that stands out to me. Number one, it being March and we selling 720,000 pieces. That's pretty freaking impressive.
Compelling numbers this week.
Compelling.
Sorry.
It's really gritty.
Anyway,
How to say it. Because it's like tea leaves. I don't know.
I guess EA's happy. Army of Two sold well on 360, so holding it back, I guess, did sign to serve well for them. Crisis Core only did 300,000, which I guess is kind of good. We Guitar Hero's doing well. I don't know. Anybody see anything else interesting out of here? There's a lot of crazy rhetoric. The 360, of course, is taunting their big attach rate, but their big news for them is that the price drop in Europe got them a significant bump in sales, which is big. I mean, we've been talking about how 360 was definitely not the console of choice in a lot of mainland Europe, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
The other thing is, like, everyone keeps saying, I mean, again, everyone keeps saying that the Wii is a trend or something.
Not a trend.
I mean, not a trend. What do they call it? What is
No,
it?
I mean, no, they do
Fad.
say that. They say it's a trend or a fad, but
And
it's,
they-
when
and that
you're
it's
selling
going-
that
but every
many,
single month, everyone's like, that's it. Like, it's done. Like, it's what? Every
Well, I
single
mean-
month, these numbers come in.
Yeah, and Smash Brothers definitely had a big part to do with 700,000. It did 2.7 million. Is that the number I saw?
2.7 million. Yeah,
Jeez.
it's just a couple.
Yeah.
And what?
Just a
In
couple.
how long?
That was
a
just a
month?
month.
That was in the month, in the month of March. And when did it come out in the month? I don't remember. I'm sure most of those sales were within the first week anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, because Nintendo is
That's
good
a
about
lot.
they get their product in and like they put it on the shelf on Sunday, so it's already there. There's some speculation that Grand Theft is going to do. What was it? 4 million on a first week or something, like an eclipse Halo 3. Blah blah blah. Anyway,
Yeah.
what else?
see.
It's tough when Xbox Live is touting that they also have Hannah Montana available on video.
Kind of like Sean was saying, though. I mean, don't the Wii numbers here like eclipse everything else? Though?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
No, that's
it's
what I
not
was saying. That's the standout. Is the
It's
Wii
like
number just
3 times
trounces.
as much as in second place.
They do every single month, and this is what's so weird is because it's like not just among people in the building, but hearing just people in the industry. It's like it's just this fad, this short-lived fad, and it's like I keep waiting for the bottom to drop out. Then, if that's the case, and it never does.
Right. It's ridiculous. I mean, to me, it's like the opposite. It's not that the others are fads, but that this is the machine.
Oh, yeah.
That has gone beyond the gamer crowd. The rest of us are still talking about the other machines, but actually this one has moved from beyond just the flavor of this year until the next cycle. This is the one that is in everybody's house now.
And it's gone exactly as they were saying it would at
Sure.
E3s years ago, where
Yep.
they're like, there are only so many hardcore kids in America
Right.
that like to do all the things we're so used to hearing about, and then there are millions and millions of other people who
Yeah.
aren't that person, and we're going to make a system for them.
And the other
they
good thing is
have.
that it doesn't even have the negative stigma of just sort of that
The video game.
Right, because like I don't know if you guys have this experience. I think I'm the only one in this room with a kid. So, other people will come over, other parents or whatever, and it is the same thing every time. People will come in, and both the parents and the kid will go, "Oh my God, you have a Wii?" And they all want to see it, and they all want to play tennis or whatever. Whereas if somebody comes into the house and sees, your stack of 360 games or whatever, it's like, oh, it's a dork with a gaming machine. The Wii has a completely different sort of persona that other people see, and it's not a negative stigma.
It's the
and
difference
that's so
between
huge.
a book of Garfield on your coffee table and the Preacher volumes, It's just different. You don't want your grandma to open up the
So Wii is like Garfield?
Well, in a way, but there's that again. that's what's weird is like people get really
What are you
upset
saying,
about that.
man?
Now I want to acknowledge that there's stuff like Super Mario, whatever. I'm just picking something. Maybe Garfield's
Family
not the
Circus.
best. Family
Oh, wait,
Circus
no,
is hot.
that's
is
another
hype.
bad one. Yeah.
Or
Calvin and Hobbes.
Okay, Calvin and Hobbes.
Kathy.
Kathy.
So it's just more people can get into that. For a
Yeah.
fact that like as much as it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with Preacher, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the other. It's just
Different
saying-
audiences.
Well, so you're absolutely right. I mean, as long as we're talking about Nintendo stuff, I'll pull out their corporate line real quick. So they sold 720,000 Wiis, which was the highest monthly sales total outside of holiday months for them to date. They also sold almost 700,000 Nintendo DS machines.
Oh my God!
So-
Yeah, I just saw that as you were saying it.
Considering the month and then the supposed
It's insane.
recessionary state of the economy, it's pretty impressive.
So yeah, they basically they note that Nintendo systems represented 58% of all video game hardware sold in March, United States, and really they don't expect the momentum to stop anytime soon. I don't really expect the momentum to stop anytime soon. For I agree, like the whole trend thing, there's fad thing, it's got to go away. They also significantly put 3 Wii games in the top 10. Which is good because we wanted to start seeing some software show up there. So you got Super Smash Brothers, Wii Play, and Guitar Hero.
I wonder how many of those copies of that Wii Play just went right with the system to get an extra controller.
That's
Yeah, right.
everybody knows that. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
but still sells them. And then Sony's news is also very upbeat. The PS3 was a little bit behind 360 this time, but I mean, both of them are right in the same ballpark. PSP selling well. PS2 still selling well. I don't know.
How does the PS2 sales do next to the PS3?
They're within 40,000 of each other. The PS3 is 257.
That's nuts.
PS2 is 216.
See, I don't know how Sony spins that well. I mean, how do you say our previous generation system is still the preferred machine of
But that's
nearly
how it was
half?
with PS1 was.
Is it?
No,
Was it?
not as long.
When PS2 came out, it was like everyone was still buying PS1s, and they kept
Isn't that saying
making
something
it.
I
shitty
don't
about
remember-
the PS3 though?
I don't
Is
remember it going
It's
on this long.
expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Right, but for
PS
whatever the reason, it's saying people are saying like, I would rather have your last gen machine.
I think it's got to be money, though. You're thinking the most people who don't have like
Yeah.
a huge disposable
Right.
income
PS2 is
for
what,
it.
So- but
$99
that's a
now?
negative.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a combination of money and then big library and then big library of, again, also really affordable games because in addition to new stuff not being that expensive for PS2, all the places like, the EB Games or whatever have tons of used PS2 stuff.
You can get them at 7-Eleven at the checkout. When
What?
you get like the panty rose, it's like a rose that unfolds into some panties. They'll have a PS2
Huh?
game right next to it.
The
Oh
PS2
shit! Yeah, I
Panty
have
rose.
seen those.
Like the counters of 7-Elevens are
Yeah.
basically everything for an abusive husband to go and like set things right with his family. There's like, there's the panty rose. Hey, honey, I was thinking of you'll see like there'll be like triple XL fishnet pantyhose there.
and
at
then
the
right
counter
next to
for
it,
women.
you got
And then there's a-
18-wheeler Rampage for the PS2 right next
yeah,
to it.
and like a little car that sparks when you arrive. It's like, I'm sorry, Billy. I didn't mean to hit you. I got you a space shuttle that sparks, though. That's not funny, man. But it's 7-Eleven.
So yeah, for Sony, the season of monster titles has begun with Gran Turismo 5 Prologue and Grand Theft. Both Sony and Microsoft were touting.
I think
Grand
an
Theft
interesting thing,
Auto.
just looking through it, is the fact that multi-platform games still, granted higher user base, but the 360 multi-platform is still outselling PS2.
Still are outselling,
significantly.
especially online ones.
I mean, look at Army of 2. It did like 3 times as many sales on 360 as PS3.
We've got a whole lot of downloadable content news coming up, and we're going to start off on that with a analysis that Steve Watts put together from, well, not analysis, but just something he pulled out of the MI6 conference, where the ESRB president, Patricia Vance, in her talk about where the ESRB is going and how downloadable content will be Reflected noted that any time downloadable content comes out, it has to stay within the same ESRB rating as the original game, or else the entire game must be regraded. Now, this sounds like you're probably like, oh, no big deal, right? But, I mean, this is something that, especially if you think about like Grand Theft Auto, is going to impact Grand Theft Auto, because it means every time they're going to do the DLC for 360, they have to make sure that whatever they're doing wouldn't wind up being AO.
Well,
but that seems fair enough.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not saying it doesn't seem fair.
Yeah.
But why not be able to ESRB each of the individual DLCs?
Depends if it's like free or not, I guess. Right? I mean, like if it's just
Well,
a
it's
free
not
thing
like-
and you don't need like a credit card to get the.
Well, it's not like Microsoft would put AO DLC on their system anyway. They've already said you can't play AO content through Xbox Live, so it's not like they could make AO content.
Okay, what about a
deliver.
teen rate? What about a teen-rated game that wanted to do something that would then be considered mature? Anyway, we don't have
Because
to comment.
people, what that could, I could see where people would abuse that because they know that like the AO rating's kiss of death
Right.
supposedly on the retail, and they're like, we really want to do this. We'll just make the box thing, and then we'll issue a patch
Right.
2 weeks later that turns it into AO. You know,
Right.
I mean, there could be. It just sets up circumstances that people could probably abuse.
No disagreement. All right. Let's rock through some of this downloadable content. Rock Band finally going to get albums. And the very first album, okay, and am I the only person who was like, that's your first album?
I was thinking that too.
Judas Priest Screaming for Vengeance
Yeah.
is the first album available on Rock Band. It's going to be $14.99, which is 1,200 Microsoft points.
That doesn't bode well for the future.
No, it
If
doesn't.
they're coming out of the gate with that.
Yeah.
Finally!
$18 for a fucking Judas Priest album. Like even if I was getting a CD, I wouldn't pay $1. like,
In the bargain bin, yeah, used.
Come on, you've got another thing coming on it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other songs. Those 9 other songs, I mean, anyway, Kotaku has a interview with Harmonix Alex Rigopoulos, says that basically the reason you haven't gotten the albums yet is that it takes them a long time to get the albums done. There's a technical element, which I don't know how well that really applies to newer stuff. He goes in this thing about how, well, you know, some of those old albums, it takes us a long time to find the original masters and get them matched up the right way, and there's like weird analog equipment we have to get them over to digital. I'm like, but what does that have to do with the songs from like an album last year or 10 years ago? Like if it's Judas Priest, maybe, but I don't know.
Well, they've got the 80s, 90s, and zeros to work with.
Right. And I don't
That's
think they
a lot
were.
of years.
Yeah, I don't think they were recording in the zeros on archaic analog equipment that they have to dig up someplace and find
Quit
something
making
that works.
excuses, Harmonix.
Yeah, this isn't a knock against Judas Priest, but you can put it in 5.1 all you want to. It's still Judas Priest. You're not really changing that.
don't be afraid to rip on Judas Priest. They fucking suck, dude.
Yeah. There's no apologists for them here on this podcast.
No love for the turbo lava.
Shane's at their concert right now. We can rip on them all we want, dude.
Let's see what else. He says they have no schedule and no standard pricing, but they do have many more albums to come. And with
What are they going to follow it up with? 4 Non-Blondes?
Hey, they were okay in their day. We'll take them over Judas Priest.
What was that other shitty song that?
yeah.
Oh, the Crash Test Dummies. Once there was this boy. I better be careful. I'm going to end up on the One Up Show.
You are, yeah.
All right, something we talked about back when Army 2 was coming out that we got to see when they brought it by originally is the new Army of 2 cooperative challenge mode that's going to come out next week.
Is
for
this who
downloadable
can slap
content.
each other's ass the hardest?
Oh.
Yes, that or it's the sort of American Gladiators sort of thing where you play 2 versus 2 in team play, and actually it works really well.
That's
So they have like these obstacle courses that your team gets to compete against another team and try and get to the end of it. And it brings up this whole weird dynamic.
That sounds fun.
It is actually
That
fun.
sounds better than the actual game.
It probably is. I mean, just being honest, it probably is. It's like American Gladiators, but both dudes had M16s. It's kind of cool. That'll be available next week for $7.50 in America, and that's great. We have the other prices too. €4, $4.75 in euros, and $3.80 in pounds.
Well, that about translates right, doesn't it?
I
Give
don't
them
know.
a shitty dollar. So.
Next week, the dollar probably will be worth less, so who knows? PC folks who have been waiting to get Mass Effect, in addition to getting the strategic interface that they redesigned for the game, will also get the Bring Down the Sky downloadable content pack for free as an available download right when the game comes out. It's not a nice little bonus for you guys.
Did they also add the fun patch to that too?
You didn't like it?
Womp womp. Sorry.
I was waiting to try it and Assassin's Creed, so it's like this is my chance to. I need to get.
I'm just talking shit.
Fun
You didn't
patch.
like? Did you play it?
I played it up till you got to the city, which is probably the first 20.
Yeah,
That's where it gets
it's-
cool.
It's really one of those games that it really doesn't get good, and this is sad, but doesn't get good till like 6 hours in.
Yes, but I'm a troll and I'm
Wow.
judging it after.
Yeah, that's
Wait.
fine. 6 hours.
Yeah, it's,
That's a long
you
time.
really have to make a commitment to it.
Imagine
but
being
I
in a
could
movie
beat
theater
COD
for that.
in that time. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You wouldn't want
I mean
to go
that was
to a
my
movie.
that was my experience.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting in a movie.
For 6 hours.
I promise you, honey, in hour 5, this movie's going to start picking up.
or like a book, 600
You've seen
pages.
Reds, obviously. Criterion has been hard at work on DLC as well, and these guys, like, they are definitely riding like out on the edge of what needs to be done with DLC on Burnout. They're like just throwing it down. So this is not something that they've even said when it's going to come out yet. So keep in mind, we have the patch that's coming that's going to improve stability and fix some of the bugs. We have the content pack that we know is going to be free that opens up new islands for you to play around with. And now they're announcing a new 3 different game mode downloadable content that's also evidently going to be free coming up for you. That's going to have, they didn't say when it's going to come out, but it's going to have online stunt run, which will let you do 8-player simultaneous stunt tricks. So if you don't, which is
Neat.
cool.
That's gonna be good.
You get to stunt next to each other, so you can,
Cool.
or you can have like one dude driving along as like the camera. Dude, the
Yeah.
machinima thing. Like, imagine being able to like drive along while someone's tumbling their car through the town and like have that in the
But
screen.
you want to recreate Turbo Team with the talking come out of the grill?
El Machino.
There also is going to be online road rage, which is classic. I mean, we had that
Yeah.
in one of the burnouts where you have one team trying to get to a finish line, the other team
Yeah,
trying to
try
stop
take
them.
out.
Great.
I mean, I think the best thing
That
is
sounds good.
for me. I got the PS3
It does.
version. I'm glad. They're,
Sarcastic. Sean's laughing at me.
I'm glad they're finally adding custom soundtracks to the PS3 version because I can't take Avril Lavigne much longer.
And Mark, man, you still listen to that shit?
Well, no, we skipped through, but like what you can do is when you're playing online, everybody hears the same shit, so you just cue it up over and over again and make them listening to it.
It's like
I
Rick
got a
rolling.
soundtrack for you. Go to my blog.
I
right
know,
now
I heard
and
it.
Download those 3 songs and play that on your custom soundtrack.
What the hell?
Because we play those songs. We actually
What, the
do
Final
play.
Fantasy soundtrack?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy. Yeah, we play those
Epic.
in San Andreas multiplayer in our cars. You know, like,
GFWSean.oneup.com.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
blog. Check it. Some
Yeah.
really, really good music.
GFW.
Really good.
Andrew, we put a link in for the show notes. Everyone will be like, dude, your blog's going to break. What up goes
You do
to
have. There's a warning. A lot of people like say they turn it off immediately, but there's the trick with a lot of the best things on the internet is that you have to forcibly like desensitize yourself. And so if you do it, you might be able to get in like 2 minutes one time, but eventually you'll be able to listen to the whole thing.
Have you been to
You
Mux
won't feel a
Tapes?
thing. No.
Oh, we should.
Oh,
keep it-
Mux
we-
tapes. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you make your own mix.
Oh, he could have fun with that, couldn't he? Let's see. PlayStation Store just came back up this week. Anybody other than me had a chance to look at it because it's
No,
a good fix.
It's much better than the interface they had earlier. It's still web-based, so it's a little slow because they haven't distributed all the files throughout all the servers.
I thought it was way faster than it was before.
It's
So you think it's slow in general,
no,
but
no,
it's
no.
way
What
faster than
what
it
I'm
was
saying
before.
is like loading the screenshots and stuff is still slow, or at least it was the first couple of days. I haven't tried it in the last like 2 or 3 days, but
Okay, I'd have to say that like that was a significant upgrade. I'm really happy with
it's
the new
also nice
store.
that you can hit circle to back up instead of just backing out of the whole thing now.
Here's something that could use a little upgrade.
Oh Jesus Christ!
This would be the Metal Gear Online sign-up situation. So, Jeff, you can get a good laugh out of this. In order
Yep.
to sign up for the Metal Gear
This one's for you. John.
Online
Okay,
beta,
I'm getting ready to laugh.
not only do you have to sign up with.
Okay.
Here, you can do the thing. You
Yeah.
can have it, David, because this is your baby. Because you've been
This
like
is-
trying to get it
This has
taken
been
care
the
of.
bane of my existence
Read it
for
to
the last
Jeff,
3
though.
days.
Make me laugh. Yeah.
Well, Konami's not using the PlayStation Network.
By the way, Metal Gear Solid 4, which Shane said was going to save the PlayStation 3, doesn't even use their own damn PlayStation Network interface.
Yeah. So you have to go to this Konami website, which looks like they did a piss poor translation of the Japanese website. It's a weird layout, and it's getting hammered. You have to sign up for 2 different IDs, 2 different passwords to even log into the game and play it. You have to have a Konami ID so that you can get on a Konami game and join their server. Then you have to have a game ID so you can hop onto the game that's on the Konami server and play it.
Wow. And they're not connected?
Well,
I mean, they're not.
Yeah, it's not PSN. It's
And
not
none of them are
Fighting with
connected to
Nintendo,
PSN.
man.
Yeah,
They're
well,
battling for.
it's whole thing, and like the website has been slammed. They don't have any. The server backend's awful. It took me about 36 hours off and on, just continuing trying to log on because we have to have game IDs so we can play it when it comes out next week. And this is 3
The
days.
game's coming out next week.
Well, the beta for the Metal Gear
beta.
Online component. And so we've been trying to get these IDs because you have to have them to play it, and the game comes out on Monday. So, I mean, we're trying to do coverage, and I've just been hitting refresh and logging into it. And you'll get, like, to step 3 or 4 out of 5.
Are you
and
beta testing
it
the
times out.
login process or something?
No, we just have to have
Obviously.
it. You just have to have it to get into it. And, like, it's going to get slammed even more on the weekend as you get closer to the beta. So if I wasn't doing it earlier, we wouldn't have the IDs and we wouldn't be playing.
I sound so jingoist, but really, dude, it's yet again Japan.
I know.
It's another one of those, like,
in
shake
fact,
your head
I signed up for the Japanese beta. They closed one a long time ago. It's the exact same website. They've literally just translated it with slightly illegible English.
I mean, that's fine. I don't,
Even
like,
the 404
but
pages
just
in
this whole
Japanese,
nonsense.
it's
like Nintendo and their
it's
online.
more difficult than it needs to be.
But it's not just Japan, obviously. I mean, it's really anybody who
But wait,
gets. Okay, go ahead.
Wait do you hear the restrictions
All right.
when you sign up for your?
Yeah, don't decide you're not going to cast stones at other countries just yet, man.
Yeah.
All right.
So your game ID, all the letters have to be lowercase. You can't have any uppercase. You can't have spaces. You can only use underscores. Your password for your game ID has to be 8 to 12 numbers and letters combined. Your game ID also has to be lowercase, but those password has to be numbers only. Can't
Okay,
use
that's
letters.
fucked up.
But
You're right. The Japanese are fucking
and
wankers.
your game ID, your game
Fucking nuke them again.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
What did I tell you about shitting off the bow,
I'm
dude?
sorry.
God, Jeff.
Go on.
your Konami ID and game
I
ID.
overreacted a little.
No,
Yeah.
Andrew's like, he wanted to put
He's
this
noting down the
online.
time.
He wanted to put this podcast online. Now he's going to
Yeah.
edit it.
Delete.
But your IDs
Yeah.
can't be the same. The
He's just gonna
passwords
put a
can't be
bleep
the same
there.
as the IDs. It's just,
So
it's just
okay.
so
Yeah, all right.
so
that's
backwards.
That's pretty restrictive. But still, what I was going to say is that anybody who goes online for the first time, with their new service or whatever, I'm talking just the gaming space, always gets slammed this way. They, it's sort of like it's like a hazing ritual. Every MMO when they first came on with whatever goes through this, like, the servers are borked. I couldn't sign on. I mean, look at Steam.
Right.
So
Well, and World of Warcraft.
why are you laughing at me?
That joke was rad.
And so, like I said at the beginning, I mean, people are going to be like giving me crap for it, but I think to me the biggest disappointment is that it's just not on PSN. This
That's ridiculous.
This is the big PS3 game.
Well, and
That makes sense.
and-
You actually have to go
believe-
through your PC to do this.
No,
Or
you
you
can
mean
actually
you just do it
You
the
can
browser
you can
on
you
the-
can do it in
I
the
see.
browser on the PS3.
Okay.
But the only thing that worries me is if this user interface is so awkward, like what's it going to be like in the game?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering. Yeah, like
Yeah,
if,
right.
if we can expect improvements for the final retail.
Well, if
And-
you're saying the game's coming out soon,
It's coming out in June.
And what's up with
I mean,
PlayStation Network that it was in such a state that Konami couldn't find a way to work with them on them? Because obviously they're well partnered with Sony and have made great partnerships around this game.
Yeah.
To have this specifically not be on the PlayStation Network means that it just fundamentally wasn't
and
able to happen.
And this has obviously been the plan for a long time because this is the same ID sign up they had for the Japanese closed beta last year. So
Right.
Yep.
Still, I mean, they have till June, right? This could just be problems at the press, and people or
Yeah,
beta
and-
testers are going to go through that.
yeah, and honestly, like
Yeah.
the number of people the only people that are actually interested in this are the hardcore players anyway, because to even get on in the U.S., you had to pre-order the game through a big box retailer and get a code.
But it does
like-
appear that
but,
this will be the final
this,
system.
This just speaks to the fact, and I don't want to just like dump it all on Konami, but like this just speaks to the fact that like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. Half the kids that were pre-ordering, or a large portion of the kids that were pre-ordering stuff, you need a 12-digit code. Some of them were getting 9-digit codes.
Yeah.
Some of them getting 10. Some of them getting 11. And Konami's like reaction was to email us with your number. We'll fill in your last 1, 2, or 3 numbers and send it back to you.
Nice. That's ace.
Feel bad for the intern that had to do that.
I wish Shane was here for the rest of the Metal Gear Solid 4 love, because I'd like to hear how he would respond to the latest issue of UK's Edge magazine, where Hideo Kojima had some comments about how Metal Gear Solid 4 wasn't completely up to his standards. He says, game-wise, it's pretty close to the original Vision. You sneak into the battlefield and can choose whether to be a stealth game or interfere with the battle more directly. But the graphic side of things, like motion blending and the size of the map, totally was not accomplished to my original Vision to my satisfaction.
All right, I'll be Shane then. Doesn't matter. Going to be great. End of story. How's that?
I could review it right now. Sorry.
Kojima goes on and says, he said, when he first showed the game at TGS, the staff were really proud and happy. PS3 was a dream machine, and we were going to work on this and that, and we had so many ideas. And when we actually started developing the game, we realized that there was a lot of restrictions. And so it turned out how you see it today. The original vision was to go 10 steps further. The reality was just one step, which isn't to say that we didn't progress.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think this is a case where he's being more honest than most developers are in the press, and he's going to get slammed for it. I mean, I think anytime you're creating a work of art or creating something like that is yours, I don't know. I'm always disappointed when I see stuff I do initially.
Right.
And I have a feeling, I mean, he's just having the same reaction. I mean,
right, I agree with that. I mean, did he actually use the word disappointed, or is that just the word that showed up in the Kotaku article?
That was the way that was the way Kotaku put it. But I mean, he does go on. I mean, to finish what he says is, I remember saying 3 years ago that we wanted to create something revolutionary.
Sorry.
But in reality, we couldn't really do that because of the CPU. We're using the Cell engine to its limit, actually. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing the PS3 machine. It's just that we weren't really aware of what the full-spec PS3 offered. We were creating something we couldn't entirely see.
I'd say he's legitimately upset because in my experience, it's just common sense, anyone who's like a month or two away from releasing something that they want to sell and that their PR team is working overtime to sell, and they come out and make a comment saying that this isn't all that it could have been, something's very wrong. Like when the Wu-Tang album, Diagram or whatever just came out, like Ghostface Killah and shit started coming out saying that this album was whack and was bullshit, and it wasn't because someone was just kind of mad that the mixing wasn't up to his choice on it. It turned out that there was a huge, like, the band basically split up to the point where they hate each other now. It's like, I don't think it's not quite like the Wu-Tang blowing up.
Yeah, but I think what he's criticizing, it's not the core game. He's just saying graphically,
right?
There's a couple of lens flares he couldn't throw in there, so
maybe.
Right. I think that David. I mean, I liked your point about that. Any artist really is going to feel that way, and Kojima is a notorious perfectionist, right? I mean,
yes.
We know this about him.
Yes, he is.
And it reminded me of, a long time ago, somebody asked Woody Allen which of his movies was his favorite, and he said, none of them, because I can't watch any of them. All I see is like what I didn't do. All I remember is like the things I thought I was going to do that I didn't.
I mean, it's just when you're a businessman and you've been in the business as long as he has, you know that you need the time to come out with what you've been feeling all along.
Right.
Is a few months after people about
he
it.
just may not be the cheerleader type.
The big thing to me is that he does open it by saying, I achieved what I wanted to in the game. And that's what's really important to me. I want to play the game. Like, I think the game, from what I've already seen, looks beautiful. So I'm pretty happy with where it is visually.
But this is, and I do wish Shane was here because he talked to the man personally about the game when he played it. But this is also a magazine interview, so who knows when it was conducted? Could have been 2 or 3 months ago.
But like you said about the Wu-Tang
But he said
up,
they used it to the full extent. It's not like he found that like it had a fuller than full extent of cell processing.
Oh, wait, here's all this other code.
But you hear...
Shit!
There's another cell in this thing.
Oh, shit! How much time do we have? Fuck!
I mean, you hear this bullshit from a lot of developers, though. I mean, what was it? The Uncharted team said they were only using a third of the cell processor, and he's saying he used 100%. I mean, who knows what to believe
This
anymore.
is all hype.
Yeah.
Well, he's not Sony, and he's not Sony first party, and I think part of here is I think you're hearing some frustration of, hey, we thought we were going to be able to do a lot more with this, and we could visually, but we got to.
I guess we'll see.
Could have put it on the PC, but no.
I guess we'll see.
Could have been a games for Windows.
I guess we'll see what he can do when he ports it to 360.
It's true.
Could have been our last cover story, Sean.
Wow.
Maybe it will come to PC.
10 DVDs.
Awesome. Along with Namco, who already has been plying the Western development market, which is where Afro Samurai is being developed, Capcom is also very interested in acquiring Western development. In an interview with Gama Sutra, one of the Capcom bosses said that they were interested in that they wouldn't be surprised, let me find the quote here, wouldn't be surprised if we didn't acquire a Western studio in the next 2 years. I think it's sort of a given because we're having so many good experiences with so many of the people that we're working on. And, of course, the immediate reaction is that a lot of people thought, well, maybe it'll be Backbone Entertainment, who's done 1942 Joint Strike, Commando 3, and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD remixes for them. It's interesting to see so many of the Japanese publishers really trying to embrace the sales potential of the West by coming over and looking at Western developers.
They just want our cheap labor.
They just want our cheap dollar. We kind of hit on in the main part of the show Soul Calibur on Xbox Live Arcade later this year, but that was announced in the Namco event. It's the same game off the Dreamcast. It's going to have everything, including leaderboards, although, as Shane pointed out, evidently not going to have online play. I didn't know that part. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's a shame. That's a frustration, although I won't argue with that. I think the thing that's funny about that is Soul Calibur 1 and Soul Calibur 4 at the same time is going to mess people up because the button combos for characters are going to be different for each one.
What was their justification for not having online play?
Honestly, I think they're just making it as a fan service.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, would it take work to make it play online? Didn't take
a
much
lot of
work
work
to make it play on an emulator.
And they are updating graphics with HD or textures.
Well,
so.
that's not going to be far. I mean, Soul Calibur on Dreamcast already looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the most modern. It's going to be the most modern game on XBLA. Really, I mean, you think that's a Dreamcast game, and they're putting it on Xbox Live Arcade.
You have to wonder what the file size is going to be on that.
That's a damn good question.
Yeah.
And then they're definitely into fan service because they also announced their premium edition for Soul Calibur 4, which comes with a T-shirt and an art book and a tin.
Don't knock
tin
that
can.
when they showed it on the slide on the big screen. I saw your eyes get all doughy.
A what?
I don't know what you're saying. Comes in
It looks like they put it in leftover Halo Collector's Edition boxes.
Can we talk about Mortal Kombat and DC?
Sure. Announced at the Midway event yesterday.
Sean's ended about 5 years old there.
That Mortal Kombat.
Please.
Mortal Kombat
DC.
facing off against the
We should have had
DC
Ryan Scott on here for his
DC Stars.
because he's such a hater. Look, I want to know. Okay, I can communicate for him because he's concerned. Well, first of all, I told him I was
concerned the artistic integrity of Mortal Kombat.
I'm concerned that, like, you know how there's always the palette swap ninjas?
Right.
There's, like, Ermac and Smoke and all these guys that now you're going to have the Green Lantern Corps is going to be the equivalent of that because you just changed the head and they all wear the same, like, Green Lantern outfit. But it is good because it's going to solve the age-old questions, like, about, you know, like I said, who would win, Johnny Cage or Superman? I mean, stuff that's really hard to figure out, Sonya or Wonder Woman. But also he was like,
generations of males. These questions.
Can I play as like Golden Age
up
Superman?
inside.
Liu Kang and that Native American remember the Native American superhero? What was his name?
DC, I'm not sure.
Was
I don't think they had one.
was in Super Friends?
They
It
had-
was. Andrew's nodding his head. Get me the internets. I need to know his name.
It's going to be great when these answers do finally get solved. Wikipedia will now be able to say
Apache Chief.
Superman
Andrew knew
can
it.
be.
What about this though? Can you unlock and fight as Superman 64?
Oh God.
The problem is that DC Comics,
Yeah.
every game that's come out involving a DC property, I mean, there could be exceptions like Lego Batman and stuff that are on the way.
They've been
For the
shit.
most part, they've been really bad, and they have they have a record for being the worst software for any generation of hardware, no matter what. Like
That's
from
an
Superman
accomplishment.
64 to like the Batman game for
And Xbox, they had Aquaman. That was pretty bad too.
Aquaman. Yeah,
Well, their problem was trying there.
Well, that sets up a tough
That needed to
situation.
be killed at conception.
I mean,
Wait,
because
it's
everybody
Aquaman.
knows.
Never mind.
It sets up a really tough situation because everybody knows Mortal Kombat is the cream of the fighting crop. So how's it going to balance
Yeah.
out?
it's gonna be weird.
Wait,
man.
has there been no
And then
good
the whole,
and
like,
it's teen rated.
Yeah, because you can't have fatalities
No
because
fatalities.
Batman
There
and
will be
Superman don't
blood.
kill fools.
There'll be blood because, I mean, the teen rating today is not what it was like 5 years ago. But there'll be blood, but there's no fatalities, any of that stuff. So
Oh man, you could babality Batman into Robin.
friendship.
The other thing is that they have so many characters traditionally playable in Mortal Kombat games that there might be room for, like, they might even get Uncle Sam in there. That's a DC Comics character, and I want to see like the Freedom Fist or something. You know, it's like it's a finishing move. But I do wish it made me think. I was like, some of these characters would have been perfect if when Marvel made, Capcom versus. I mean, when Capcom made Street Fighter versus Marvel,
yeah, if
they
it had
would
been
have done
Marvel
it.
versus DC or something.
Because,
that would've been
like,
cool.
imagine, like, the Green Lantern, what they would do if it's 2D and the sky's the limit on what you want for all the hits, make these, like, ring powers and stuff do shit.
My worry is they're using Unreal Engine 3. Is there going to be texture pop in when every round starts up?
Hey-o. All right.
It's going to get greasy, man. It's going to be the greasiest Superman you've ever
Shiny,
seen.
shiny.
Finishing out on the wonderful sales notes, The Sims, guess what, kids? A huge 100 million lifetime units in that franchise.
That's across the franchise.
Yes.
To be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just one title, but still, what a powerful brand. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that, like, The Sims could keep EA in business by themselves.
I'm sure it probably does. I mean, actually, when you do break it down by game, it's still as high, if not higher, than a lot of all-time best-selling console games. So you take the 100 million together, it blows everything else away. But even if you take, I don't know if it's Sims 1 or 2, is at the 50 million, which puts it.
After doing your cover story, how much of the magic do you think still is carrying through to Sims 3?
Well,
Has it jumped the shark?
No, absolutely, it's not jumped the shark. I don't think so at all. I think that.
I mean, a fashion tie-in,
This stuff. See, yeah. I mean, if you read our cover story, you'll know that there's two lines of thought going on.
Just throw away the subscription card.
No,
come on now. No gallows humor.
Come to our online site.
That's
I'm just
what your
saying,
card's
like,
good
I
for.
actually thought about, like, if I
Your
was in a
subscription's
store
good
and I
for
saw
12 free months at our website.
our Mag on the Rack, I wanted to go and take the subscription cards out of it just so we wouldn't, like, I just personally
you
don't
could
want
just write a personal
Yeah.
note and leave it in there.
It's like Jeff Green.
I'm
do it
sorry.
at the Safeway in Berkeley, dude.
Yeah, just kidding, Jeff Green. Yeah. Ha ha, gotcha.
Was anybody
Thanks for the
sending the
$10.
subscription cards in?
Yeah, they were. We had a lot of subscribers.
A lot of people.
It wasn't about the subscribers. Let's not go down this road.
Just kidding you.
The Sims franchise really has there's two groups of people at EA working on it. You've got these people who, yes, they're coming up with the fashion things and the how to appeal to the teenage girls or whatever, but the actual developers of the Sims game, starting with Will Wright, he's not on it anymore, of course, but Rod Humble, who's there now, these guys are hardcore game developers. They're real developers. They're not a group of marketing people. And what they're doing with Sims 3 is they're completely kind of reinventing it all over again, and they had very ambitious goals. So I don't think, no, it hasn't jumped the shark at all. I mean, I would say that they're completely looking at this as a game for gamers that they're hoping is going to kind of get all the people back who are kind of thinking what you're thinking. That, well, now this is so far beyond mainstream that they're so doing this other thing with the fashion, expansions that I have no interest in.
But the fashion things worked. Those numbers, when that Garnet sighting, aren't coming from making like Jeff Green and Garnet Lee feel like it's cool to play Sims.
No,
right.
I mean, a lot of people are buying those expansions in the same way that like we're so gung ho when we find out we can get Judas Priest album on Rock Band. Maybe there's a chick out there who's happy that she can get some H&M like rags
well, the
for
Sims
her
is like
character.
The Sims is like the Wii. It's like the game everybody knows that it's okay to buy and it's okay to play. And
My
it's safe and it's fun.
nieces love that shit. I mean, just love it to death. I guess when you sell 100 million copies of anything or 100 million in anything, it gets to your head because John Riccitiello was out. He's the CEO of Electronic Arts. Was speaking to the Financial Times, and I think he got a hair carried away here in telling some stories. He said the buzz around Hollywood that he's hearing is that people are worried whether the Iron Man movie is going to get killed by Grand Theft Auto, the game.
Well, that article showed that same thought came up in, I think Entertainment Weekly had an article on that. I think.
Yeah,
it was them.
I think. Did Patcher say something about that too? That like some people were worried about that. That's he didn't come up with that theory. That
wasn't his that came that right.
All right, so then how about this one? Because I think this one especially sounds a little carried away. He says, our industry is passing through a phase where I believe the greatest games will be viewed by almost everybody as being as important as Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Well, that's a bit pretentious.
Yeah, I say
I can't defend that.
All right. So whether or not you're worried or not, I think Iron Man looks cool, and I think Grand Theft looks cool. Go get both of them.
Don't you think? It seems to me like Iron Man could go either way.
Is he talking about the? He's talking about the movie.
The movie.
It could
The
go
movie.
either
I
way,
think that
yeah.
movie's gonna be huge regardless. It's gonna
You
have
think?
legs. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it looks.
He was such like a B level superhero.
Yeah, but I don't know.
The Hulk movie didn't have any legs.
You're talking about the old one.
The first one where he looked like an ape made out of water balloons.
Yeah.
Like, that one didn't last.
I don't know.
The Ang Lee one. Yeah.
I mean, I did read Iron Man, but I wasn't like a crazy Iron Man fan or anything. But this movie, I want to go see it because just the casting of Robert Downey Jr. I thought was really good.
Yeah, I don't think that the people's familiarity with Iron Man has much to do with it. I think like if it gets the buzz and everyone's like, you have to see this, then it won't matter. Just like when like my dad, he was saying how he's so into Spider-Man and stuff. He had never read, he didn't know anything about Spider-Man other than that I wanted the Underoos when I was like 5.
Right, but people have heard of Spider-Man and Batman.
You heard
not
of Iron Man
everybody's heard
too?
of Iron Man.
Listen to Black Sabbath. play Black Sabbath.
They got the rights to
I'm gonna go see
Rockstar.
it.
They're already primed.
I
think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think it'll be
I wanna
good.
see
I
it.
was kind of hoping for Carrot Top, though, instead of Robert Downey Jr.
Problem though,
he's built now.
They
If
don't
you
have-
Google
Built
Carrot
from
Top,
what?
he's ripped. I saw him.
I know he is.
Saw the
He's
ad
got
in Vegas.
six-pack abs.
That
Carrot
don't mean
Top.
shit. Dude, what do you bench? you want to have that conversation?
How much
with
you
Carrot
bench?
Top? Yeah. Yeah, but what do you bench?
Do you work out? Okay.
The thing is with this Iron Man, do you think they're putting like what's the villain? Are they gonna have as long as they don't have like the Mandarin?
Nah,
or
they
some
got, like-
stupid ass.
No, they got
Crimson Dynamo.
He gets kidnapped in like Afghanistan and has to fight his way out of a cave.
Oh, so there's not like a costumed bad man? Bad
No,
guy? Bad
I
man.
think there is. I think there's like I don't know what the name is. Like there's like this bad Iron Man kind of guy he has to fight.
Fuck it,
A
then.
dark Iron
I'm
Man.
already bummed. Seriously, stop doing that in the fucking superhero movies. The Hulk one that's coming out.
That
the
movie-
Abomination. He's like the Hulk, but he's a darker shade of green.
That movie-
It's like Iron Man,
that
but he's
movie's
got
in
red
trouble.
armor.
Yeah.
Like, why can't it just be Iron? All the cool aspect
Well, no,
of
like,
here's a guy with the suit.
it's
let
a-
him fight and let him deal with like the real world. He doesn't have to have like an evil twin.
Well, he does a lot of
brother.
Yeah.
he does a
Tomax
lot of
and
that in the
Zaymot.
movie, from what I understand and I've seen. Like I see him like grabbing the fucking tank and swinging it around and some shit like that.
I'm saying, dude, get the evil Iron Man out of that movie. Or I ain't gonna see it. Fuck it. I'm
There's
playing
a-
GTA 4. Pactor's right.
There's a lot of fighting in that Gears of War game, and more than enough because it's got, quote, big guns and monsters, and that's what makes a perfect comic book for Wildstorm to give us the Gears of War
Wait, it's
comic
it's
book.
not DC.
God.
Well, Wildstorm is publishing it. They're part of DC. It's DC's
Okay.
Wildstorm.
Because that makes me wonder, like in the 360 version, are they gonna have Marcus Phoenix as an unlockable character in Mortal Kombat versus DC? Because
Nah,
it's
son.
Midway. It's Unreal Engine 3.
Wow, that's a good rumor.
Yeah.
I like that. Anyway,
Maybe.
Hank Canals, the vice president general manager of Wildstorm, says that Epic sets the bar very high in graphics, story,
Oh, God.
and
You're sure that
gameplay.
Rob Liefeld can do his part in the comic?
I thought I'd leave that one just hanging for a minute. I mean, come on, what? Can you imagine the dialogue in the Gears
Oh,
of War
God.
book?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yo, the coal trade, baby.
That makes me very sad.
I mean, seriously.
Anybody
Who's
would
the
buy
artist
that.
for this?
Are
They
they gonna have?
haven't announced the details yet, and you know,
They could just make it a picture book, no dialogue. Look at me
how would you
flex.
know the
Look at me
difference?
flex in panel 4. Look, I'm flexing again in panel
It just
5.
Locust. None of them ever look the same. No two ever look the same. The gun changes every 2 panels.
Come
Now
on,
it's 3
boys.
cylinders in a rectangle. Now it's 2 rectangles in a cube.
Shit.
So there you go. We expect no less from our series, starting with our lead-in arc that fills in the gaps between the first game and the upcoming sequel. The bomb didn't work. We have more locusts to kill. Spoilers.
Oh shit.
Oh,
That's another
damn.
way of saying we don't give a fuck about this. Like it's in between. Anytime
Yeah,
someone's
right.
like, it's very like the Lost game. Oh, it's in this like part between
Yeah.
episode 14 and episode 17 somewhere.
Because fans really wanted to know.
Don't go posting about this online though, because J.J. Abrams had nothing to do with it.
All right. There you go, folks. If you haven't yet, we have a new news feature that Philip, our news editor, was very proud of. I'd like to invite you to check out. It's kind of cool. It's a deal. It's basically a gaming culture series. The first one is You Have to Burn the Rope. It's a free game that he does. There's a little information on. So just check. If you scan the site for You Have to Burn the Rope, you can check it. It's in the news section. Also, catch up with us at boards.oneup.com. Jeff, thanks. Did you have fun?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I had fun. Sure.
And David also. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the whole gang, Shane, who's off to go see Kanye, Andrew, David, Jeff, Sean, this is Garnet. Thanks, and until next week, we are Ghosts.